evening, everyone. Welcome. It's always a pleasure to see a big crowd. I now call this regularly scheduled meeting of April 15th, 2024 to order. Please join me in a brief word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of our community as we conduct the business of our wonderful town. We pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen. Amen. Those who can comfortably stand, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight we have three public hearings. The first hearing is a zoning request for 342 West Entrance Road. The applicant seeks to change the designation from R2 to general business. Mr. Manager, would you elaborate, please?
Yep, let me move this over so I'm not putting my fanny in this poor fellow's face right here. We have a request tonight that has been considered by the Planning Commission for a rezoning from the R2 residential district to the BG General Business District. The location is 342 West Entrance Road. Everybody knows it as an old barber shop. It does have residential zoning. It was operating as a non-conforming or grandfathered use. And I believe Sanchez is the applicant. Is Mr. and Mrs. Sanchez here? They weren't at the Planning Commission meeting either, but the Planning Commission did consider it as a straight rezoning in order to operate a convenience store. That was the purpose of the rezoning. Planning Commission did recommend denial of the request based on the residential neighborhood, the residential nature of the neighborhood, and probably the close proximity of a convenience store already there at the intersection of 8th Street or West Entrance Road and Main Street. If you have any questions, but it
Do you
is.
have any questions before I open the public hearing? I now open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to come forward to speak for this rezoning request? Is there anyone that would like to come forward to speak against this rezoning request? Please come to the podium, sir. If you'd be so kind, could you state your name and record into the microphone? Your name and record, your name and address, and a long day.
My name is Wayne S. Gratton. I live at 38 Maple Lane. That's right next to the old barber shop. We had a good group of neighbors come here last time, and nobody were in favor of it. And I stand here tonight and say I'm opposed of it also, due to traffic regulations, parking, lightage. We were here to ask the questions, and nobody showed up that could answer our questions, so I present it to the board now.
Members of the council, do you have any questions for Mr. Grad? Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward to speak against this zoning request? Yes, sir.
Yes. Don Barrick, 42 Maple Lane.
What was your last name, sir?
Barrick,
Barrick. Good to see you, Mr. Barrick.
thank you. Same concerns as the gentleman had. It's just a nice, pleasant neighborhood back there. We have a convenience store less than a quarter mile the other way that I'm not sure that we need two of them. Another struggling business right there, once another. But it's a neighborhood. It's a nice, pristine setting. It's quiet, and I just don't think we need it there.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, members of council? Is there anyone else that would like to come to the podium? Hearing none, I'm gonna close the public hearing.
Got one more.
Whoops, I'm sorry. Public hearing is reopened. How are you, ma'am?
I'm fine. My name is Tawandra Spradley, and I spoke a couple of weeks ago when we were here because I don't understand why you all would want to rezone the area, which is all residential. It's a nice neighborhood. Fort Beaufort even closed their gates at 6 o'clock. We don't have all that traffic through there, and no one wants us there. And like I said last time, Which one of you all would want a convenience store right in front of your house or right beside it? I mean, like we said, it's a good neighborhood, and there are stores right on the corner. The little mini mall up there with Walmart and everything is right up the street. They have Dollar General. Why would you want to do that? You know, that's my concern, and it's all my neighbors' concern because we really don't want it there.
Understandably so. I
All right.
appreciate your comments,
All right.
council. Do you
Well,
have
thank
any
you.
questions? Mr. Miller, any questions for this lady? No, then let me close the hearing.
But the planning commission also said that the only thing that could be done up there would be a barber shop.
What I told the planning commission what would be permissible, and since a grandfather is traditionally a 2-year term, that I would be obliged as a zoning administrator to allow another barber shop to go in there, but that's not the request, and therefore, when the request was made, it wasn't brought to you by the town, it was brought to you by an applicant or the owner of the property, and single-family, duplexes, townhouses are specifically approved for that zoning district, and I do believe we would be obliged to allow a barber shop back in that same location since the grandfather or the nonconformity hasn't expired.
Before we have any more discussion, would you allow me to close the public hearing? The public hearing is now closed. Mr. Gorman, you have the
Typically
floor.
2 years.
When does that 2-year window end?
I would say from the date that the barber shop closed. And Mr. Browder passed away, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And I don't know the exact date of when Mr. Browder passed away. So I would say that certainly that the operations ceased operating upon his demise.
Members of council, you have any more questions? Mr. Miller, out of respect for your seat on the planning council, if you have a motion, I'd entertain it.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that council deny this request for rezoning.
Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Miller has moved and Mr. Gorman has second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Gorman.
Nay.
Nay.
The motion is to deny.
A motion
Aye, I'm
is-
sorry. It's my first time voting first for a while, okay? Aye, in favor of what I said.
You don't give us so many rookie
I know,
cards.
man,
Mine
I know,
are used
man.
up.
I'm running
So,
out.
yeah,
Aye.
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 that motion carries 7-0. The second public hearing tonight is for a conditional use permit of 1441 South Main Street. Mr. Van Orvik,
Hang on, let me catch up to you.
I gotta get these folks out by 10.
Yeah,
I'm watching.
I'm rolling quick as I can here. Hang on a second. And the applicant is Maisha Atkinson, if I'm not mistaken. She just walked in the door, apparently. Ms. Atkinson has requested a conditional use permit to operate a dance hall at 1441 South Main Street. And that property is actually what used to be, I believe, Players Vape, I think is the name that's still on the front of the building. And it's located in the Walmart Shopping Center, which is zoned SB, Specialized Business. And Specialized Business was created probably 20 years ago to identify locations which are more appropriate for adult-oriented businesses. She's requesting a dance hall permit as a conditional use, which is required throughout town in the general business and the specialized business districts. It will have dancing potentially.
Yes, sir.
It'll have alcohol served
Yes, sir.
potentially, and it also will have amplified music. So those are really the three components for a dance hall. And Planning Commission did receive her request. There are a series of conditions that were agreeable to Ms. Atkinson at the time, and I'll leave this up here and you can look at them if they have any questions for you. But what we discussed at the Planning Commission, and there are a series of 9 conditions. If you'd like me to read them for the audience, I can. If you want to move forward, we'll just say they're very similar to what was originally conceived for the Lucky Eights facility, and then there were some additionals, 25 plus age
Yes, sir.
and hours of operations and that sort of thing. So,
So this is what this is where I'd like to proceed. I have a question or two, but I'd rather the council have a couple of questions for you.
okay.
And then I'll open up public hearing and then we'll hear from you, okay?
Yes, sir.
And I will say the Planning Commission did vote to recommend approval.
Thank you, sir. Members of council, do you have any questions about this application or any of the caveats before I open the public hearing?
It'll also be a restaurant as well, right?
It can be a restaurant, that's correct.
Is it going to be or is it can be?
Yes, sir. It's going to be a restaurant as well.
I
So,
can walk in there any time during open hours and get food?
yes, sir.
So basically, it's no different than any other restaurant that we have in town that serves alcohol.
With amplified music and dancing. I think
Right.
those are-
I think we have those all throughout, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, council?
Dancing, I'm a little naive, I suppose, but people bringing a date to dance with, or will they be dancers?
People to bring in a date to dance with.
Talking,
No.
She's talking about the Cupid Shuffle.
Okay. Keep playing. Wanna make it
Magic Mike.
Thank you.
Forgive me, Mr.
I was
Magic
impressed, I
Mike.
was impressed with the business
Right.
plan and all the information that was provided. I really was, I will say that. There's a lot of information there. And
I didn't have a time enough to present the floor plan that I did make, so you guys could see the actual layout of how it would be in the inside. I can give you some details if you would like, because I don't think everybody was here last time.
We have your proposal in your package.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, yeah.
And you're okay with the 25?
Absolutely, sir. I'll be 30 in June, so I'm quite well with the 25 and up. And I just want to say, you guys were telling me about the press club, and I was not impressed when I went the other weekend.
Oh, I've never been to press club.
So I just would like for my business to be a bit more on the up and up than their word, because it was a mess.
So that was your idea?
Yeah, that was my idea for the 25
Okay,
and up.
I was like, hey,
Yeah.
hold on a minute here. You know, people at 21, you know, I mean,
No,
as
that
a
was my
business, you
idea.
can set any policy you want. But,
Yeah.
you know.
What are hours of operation and days of operation?
So I will be open Monday through Wednesday. Oh, it's up there. Sorry.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Will you be checking from ID?
Absolutely. That's why I was getting at, because, and also I have very strict security. And even though it's a one-way in, from my experience over the weekend, it was just like a bum rush at that place. And I'm structuring my business to be ran not like that, because I don't want to get my ABC license taken away from me. And I also, don't want to get my, operational license taken. So I want it to be 25 and up, a strict enforced dress code as well.
If that's what you want, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Hear from other members. Any other members of council have questions? All right, if you'll take a seat, I'm gonna do the public hearing thing.
Okay.
All right, at this time, I'm gonna open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to come up and speak against this, conditional use permit? Hearing none, is there anyone that would like to come up and speak for this conditional use report? Members of council, are y'all satisfied with the testimony of the applicant, or do we need to have her back up here? I think you've made a good point.
I'm only concerned about precedent with the 25 and up. I think any business has a right to have 21 and up customers in the future. But being that this is something that she wants to do, I'm okay with it. I just don't want us in the
I
future.
wouldn't know how we could do that.
She can say,
She can. I just don't want in the future us to be saying, hey, we're not doing dance halls
But
unless
that's not
it's.
the case, so,
Okay.
is there any other
Yeah.
questions?
The reason why I set the 25 and up age range, even though I know that 21 and up is allowed, is because a younger crowd brings a lot of problems, and I don't want that at my establishment.
I agree with you, ma'am. I was just setting for the record that I didn't want us in the future to deny dance halls that wanted 21 and up. That's all I was saying.
Okay, you made the point well, thank you.
And are you in agreement with that? So we had the hours of operation close at 10 p.m. Monday through Wednesday, close at 1 a.m. Thursday through Saturday, and close at 8 on Sundays. Is that
Yes,
right?
ma'am. That's-
Okay, I just want to make sure.
You want to gavel? All right, any other questions? All right, at this time, I'm gonna close the public hearing, and Mr. Miller has asked for the floor.
All right, I am a part of the planning commission, and I sat through and I listened to all of our plans, and I would like to recommend to council that we approve this.
Mr. Miller is moving to grant this conditional use permit. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Page seconds. Is there any discussion?
With the conditions.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'll just say, it's easy to assume when you hear the word dance hall, certain things. But upon reading the information and everything else, I do believe it's worth giving a chance, no
I
doubt
think it's
about
an
it.
out-of-date term. I agree with you
Yeah,
100%.
And she had a good plan when she came to the planning commission.
All right, any other discussion? Granting a conditional use permit, I'm more comfortable with a, roll call vote. I'll begin with Mr. Gormas.
Aye.
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 Excuse me, this motion carries 7-0. The third and final public hearing involves text amendments to our zoning ordinance in reference to some setbacks on non-conforming lots. You ready, Mr. Manager?
Just a second, I will be. Just give me a call, Mark.
Public hearing number 3.
Yes, sir.
Did the planning commission vote on this?
They did, and they recommended approval. But I want to make sure, there was some confusion earlier today, but I want to make sure everybody understands. Right now, if you read our ordinance verbatim, it says that infill lots or non-conforming infill lots may be built upon if the setbacks are met. But our zoning ordinance is not particularly sophisticated because it just says 15% of the frontage at the building lot line, okay? So if you have a 100-foot wide property, it's 15 feet on either side. But a non-conforming lot would be anything that is less than 80 feet. And we have a lot of Blackstone that is divided up into 25-foot lots, maybe 60 feet, 70 feet. And on these smaller lots, we could end up with setbacks that are 2, 3, 4, and 5 feet. So the intention is to establish, so the Board of Zoning Appeals doesn't have to meet on a regular basis to banner these around, to establish a set side yard setback or a minimum side yard setback that isn't just 15%, because on very small lots, you could end up literally with 5 and 6 foot setbacks, which I don't think is the intention. 12 feet is the 15% of what a standard conforming lot would be. 15% of 80 feet is 12 feet. So what we're proposing on non-conforming lots or infill lots in the R1 and the R2 district, that they have 12, not less than 12 feet or 15%, whichever is greater. Okay, and the 15% would apply to anything over 80 feet. Okay, and we just need to create a standard, I believe, and we presented this to the Planning Commission, and I think Mr. Queen was here, and the chairman of the BZA, who may be with us tonight, is also here, understood the process, because right now, we've been taking these to BZA, and sadly, we had one turned down, I don't think on factual basis, but what we're trying to do is give the development community and the town a clarity of what those side setbacks will be. And we're establishing non-conforming lots to have a setback not less than 12 feet, which is equivalent of a side setback in the R1 and 2 districts for an 80-foot lot. Because most of the lots, if you go down 2nd, 3rd Street, 4th Street, Brunswick, they're 25-foot lots. Yeah, there's a tremendous number of those lots, and especially in the West Blackstone subdivision that was filed in the 1890s. And we don't want to have a 3-foot setback. That's what our zoning ordinance currently says, is 15% of that particular lot. And if you have a 30-foot lot, then it's only 4.5 feet. So we're trying to establish a minimum. Okay.
Members of council, do you have any questions for the manager?
I do, but for those 25-foot lots, 15%, don't we already have that 80-foot rule that would prevent that?
Because our ordinance currently says non-conforming lots may be built on as long as the side setbacks or the setbacks are met. That is part of our zoning ordinance already. So I don't think a 3-foot or a 4-foot setback is,
Didn't we just have a lot that met those requirements and still got denied?
Pardon?
Didn't we just have a lot that didn't meet those requirements?
It meets these
and
new
still got
requirements, yeah.
denied?
And was denied.
What are our typical lot sizes that are coming to the BZA for?
50 foot. The one in particular that we discussed was 55 feet, and he was offering 17-foot setbacks on either side,
Still got denied.
and was denied. Yeah, it really, and our ordinance said clearly, infill lots may be built as long as the setbacks are met. However, I think BZA, as a matter of practical or policy, wanted to meet on these smaller lots, and we had one turned down, and I don't think the applicant is very satisfied with that outcome. And we're trying to establish a minimum so we don't have to go back through this again.
Any other questions for the manager? You ready to open the public hearing? I now open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak for changing these text amendments to our zoning ordinance? If you would, please come forward. see any, so is there anyone that would like to come and speak against changing the text amendments to our zoning ordinance? Hearing none, I'm gonna close the public hearing, and as I've done before, Mr. Miller is on the planning council, and I'll give him the opportunity to speak first. What's your pleasure, Mr. Miller?
I would like for council to approve this zoning ordinance, section 4.8 and 5.8.
Mr. Miller has moved, is there a second?
I'd like to make a substitute motion.
Yes, sir, and what is that?
Like for it to read as stated with the 12 feet or 15%, but I'd like a minimum frontage of 50 feet to be added to that.
Members of council, is there a second?
I think we're gonna have to hold another public hearing to take that section out of the zoning ordinance. So I don't think you can add that tonight. But if you'd like to, we can hold another public hearing to eliminate infill lots are modified and say it has to have a minimum of 50 feet. But right now it says unlimited. It has no front setback or size minimum now. So I think it would be premature. I think we can have another public hearing to modify the zoning ordinance, but we have not advertised a public hearing for such.
I know it would be a very odd thing to do, but I don't particularly want somebody building a 5-foot house. It'd be 12 by 12.
Well, they can't build it on a 25-foot, but they would be providing, but they would be providing a minimum setback equivalent to a conforming lot. At least we're solving that problem.
Yes, I like that.
But if you want to have another public hearing next month, by all means, we can do that. But I think to amend the zoning ordinance to do what you're saying, I think is going to require more process. And that's fine. I'd be happy to send that to planning commission.
Attorney concurs, you wanna withdraw your motion? No.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it. The reason is if we don't set the minimum frontage and where you'll have somebody with a 30-foot lot come in and have I don't think this would actually happen, but a 6-foot wide house to meet the setback and build it long ways, and I don't think that's really in keeping with R1 and R2 districts.
Well, if you wanna continue, let me get a second, or do you wanna withdraw? And then, I don't, you can have all the discussion you want. I need a second to have discussion,
Oh, I see.
okay? So, for his motion.
But isn't that out of order?
It's out of order because, as he said, you can't change it.
It's not out of order, it's improper, and I would rule on that. So if you withdraw, the motion's withdrawn. Now let me get a second to Mr. Miller, and then
Second.
we can have whatever. Who is that? Mr. Page seconds. Now discussion, you have the floor if you'd like to talk more about it.
I think I've said my piece. I worry that on some of these smaller lots, the houses can get narrower and narrower. And again, I don't think that's in keeping with R1 at all, but R2 either. I don't think that's what we're.
If I may very quickly, I think Mr. Allman may be onto something because we are having more and more inquiries. We haven't had any applications, but we're having more inquiries about tiny houses. So if you know what that term is, I'm not wholly familiar with it. It couldn't be on wheels. I'm certain with that, but tiny house implies a really small house. So it could be something really tiny as long as it's met building code and is permanently affixed to the ground. So not a Connex, no. But that may be in timing with your request, and maybe the planning commission needs to work on that.
I think you're talking more San Francisco style homes.
Very
Yeah,
narrow. Elongated houses.
yeah.
Again, I just don't think that's in keeping with R1 and R2, but I think that the work that the planning commission's done with this 12-foot or 15% is great.
Okay.
I love that. I would just like to add a minimum frontage.
Can we get this on the agenda next month and advertise the hearings to?
It needs to go to planning commission first, but I'll certainly get on the planning commission agenda to start with.
Make sure Miller and Page are okay with withdrawing their motion.
No, we're gonna keep this motion, but he's brought up some good points that I'd like to see go to the planning
Go
commission.
ahead and do it, guys.
Just a minimum lot size.
Is that
Lot
correct,
width.
Mr. Owen? Okay, all
Like
right.
this would pass, and then the addition will be added to it. Yeah.
I think it needs to go to planning commission now.
It would be a separate one for.
It would, this has been duly advertised,
Right.
okay?
Okay.
Is there any other discussion? Mr. Miller has moved and Mr. Page is second, to, modify the text amendments to our zoning ordinance in reference to the setbacks on non-conforming lots. I ask for a voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion carries 7-0. Members of council, you have in your package a set of minutes from our meeting on March 18th, 1924. Are there any questions or comments?
I move to approve and dispense with reading the regular council meeting minutes from
Mr. Nash has moved. May I have a second?
Second.
I'll give a second to Ms. Nguyen. Is there any discussion or comments about these minutes?
Page 70 of 519 says the Virginia Business Resurgent Grant is 25,000. It's actually 50. And and as I read on page 94, half of the Groversity payment has already been paid. So will DBI be handling that moving forward?
I think it's a joint effort between Chastity and the DVI director.
Okay.
But really, I think it's technically a town grant, since we've received the money, and so Chastity be working on it with them.
Good.
It is.
It's a town grant. DVI is doing some of the volunteer work for some of the classes and the organization and structure.
Okay.
But the town's grant, so.
Well, I scratched that off the mayor's minute. Thank you.
Yes, sir. It
Is
should
there
be
any,
50.
do you need any action from council because of that number is different than what was discussed? Are we good?
As far as I know.
It's reflected in the minutes?
It's reflected in the minutes, and I did say it was 24 because that's what we had received.
Right.
But I think Jake hit it on his phone that it is 50,000. We just received 25,000.
Okay.
And there's a $5,000 match. And I think when the application was made, that the council was understanding of that, and that $5,000 has been set aside. So we do have and I think there is some in kind as well.
Any other questions or comments?
So we've received 25,000, but we haven't received the other 20.
Council, any more questions? Mr. Nash has moved and Ms. Nguyen has second to dispense with the reading and approve these minutes as presented.
With the correction.
Correct.
With the corrections noted by Mr. Gorman. I ask for a voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Next is the visitor section. There are two opportunities for members of the audience to address council. One of those times is now, and the second will be at the conclusion of council's business. After we hear from them, then I'll ask if anybody else would like to come to the podium. I will tell you that there may be some contention about two subdivision plots that are being asked for approval from council. I will not hear from the public during those times, so if you have anything that you'd like to address council about anything that's on the agenda, now is the time to do so. In the past, I have erred on allowing bantering back and forth between council members, and we were not in a public hearing, so I'm not gonna allow that anymore. But if anybody wants to come to the podium after our 4 scheduled visitors, that would be the time to address the council. Do you have any addition, Madam Clerk, did we add any more visitors besides the 4?
There was a gentleman in the back row, he asked, and I told him he could speak up.
Is that you, Mr. Lee?
Yeah.
Yes.
I will take you 4th, 5th, and you, sir?
James Crawley, 6.
Six. He said he'd be 6.
B6. You keep me straight here. Got a lot going on. All right. The first visitor is from Robinson Farm and Cox about the audit. If you want to come forward, I will tell you that Mr. Page has indicated to me that he has indigestion about approving this tonight, as we just received it. So you can field the questions, and we'll just play it by ear.
That sounds great.
All right. You have the floor, sir.
All right, so
Introduce yourself to council.
yeah, absolutely. So my name's Aaron Hawkins with Robinson Farmer Cox Associates, partner on charge on the audit. Here to present the audit results from the FY23 audit, and just go over some pages in the report that I've flagged to, let you know some things that I think are most imperative, and then open the floor for any questions that you may have for me. So, in the report, starting off with page 1 that I have flagged is our independent auditor's report. It contains our opinion on the audit, and really on the financial statements, our auditor's opinion on the financial statements that follow this. And it's an unmodified opinion, which means that the statements that follow this are free of material misstatement based on the testing that we've done. Jumping ahead to page 9 that I've flagged, which is Exhibit 5. I always like to stop here and kind of point out the fund balances for the town, and the ending fund balances are not in great shape right now for the governmental funds. It's the general fund and capital projects funds are both in a deficit at the end of the year for fund balance. There is a positive fund balance on special revenue fund. I think last year when I came, the fund balance was around 184,000, so it has gone down into deficit at this point. On page 12, though, the utility funds, the net positions there are very high. Electric into the year just shy of $6 million. Water and sewer just shy of $5 million. Jumping ahead, way far ahead to page 82, which is where we have our name, Robinson Farmer Cox Associates, at the top again. This is the report that we issue for the internal control testing that we have to do and state compliance for the town. If we had any findings to report, we would report those here, which we do not have any to report. And then page 84 is where we have our report and our opinion on the federal compliance work that we have to do for the town. The town, any entity that has over $750,000 of federal assistance has to have a single audit done, federal compliance testing. And the town has been in that group now for a few years in a row in terms of federal assistance, over 750. But we had no federal findings to report based on the work that we did as well. Just to kind of go over a couple of other items, just not in the report, but just kind of FYI things to go over with you all. I already talked about the fund balances, making you aware of those, you know, the couple of deficits that we had. Another thing was that the town did have a little bit of a hard time reconciling cash during the year, bank reconciliations. And then at the end of the year, I think they got to a point where they really couldn't figure out how to determine what the unreconciled amount was, so they had to basically do a journal entry to write off roughly $39,000 to bring the bank reconciliation in balance going forward, which and a one-time thing is you know, if you can't figure something out, it's probably the right thing to do, but it's not something to be repetitive with, you know, going forward. Once you get yourself to once you do that, you need to make sure you're keeping that thing reconciled going forward every month. And then the last item that I was going to mention of was for capital assets. You know, we had to do a little bit of assistance with the town in updating the depreciation schedules this year, and doing some entries to record things in the utility fund. Just some things that I know the town had hired a consultant to help them with some things, but that was one thing that we still had to kind of dive into and provide a little more assistance than we normally would. So those were the main things that I wanted to talk to you about tonight. I'm glad to do my best to answer any questions that you have for me.
Members of council, do you have any questions about the proposed audit, draft audit?
Philip had mentioned prior about the possible a shortcoming of some money, so I don't know if we're gonna look deeper into that, or.
We are, and starting out was not okay, but this has been carrying on for many, many months.
Correct.
And we need some assistance. I think Jackie's asked me, Brittany's asked me for some assistance. We're working in that direction, but we overspent our allotted amount of money to do so. But no, just writing off $39,000 is not acceptable. To balance and provide the documentation that he needed, I understand, and yes, that's how it happened, but no, we need some help. And the ladies need some assistance in finalizing that, and it's one of the items I talked to you, I think, on Thursday, and I think I've mentioned it to the mayor. But yeah, we've got a lot of work to do, learning and growth and improvement, but I'm glad to see that, I don't think it's any surprise the general fund is thinking it up. And I think we've seen that in previous years, and I think with the management letter last year. Our general fund spends more than the general fund brings in and exceeds that which we're able to provide to it. Chip will sort of the fund.
This is the full report, right?
Yes. And while it does say draft, I do not anticipate the final being any different than this draft, other than our QC department giving us things like clerical, typographical type corrections. They like to review it before we can make it final. We also have a couple of letters that we need to get back, representations from the town, attorney letter, before we can make it a final report. So
It jumps from page 71 to 82. I didn't know if we were missing.
Gotcha. So that's a good observation. So, and I usually like to leave those out of the draft because those are statistical tables. They kind of provide the prior 10 years of information. And so just in case a number did change in this year's numbers, I would hate to not have it be correct in those tables because they aren't linked to anything else. That's from historical. It's just a practice that I do where I don't usually print those in the draft because I've done that before where I've done those statistical tables. I did have to change a number in the report, and then that table in the back didn't get updated in the current year amount, and it wasn't right. And so to avoid that, I like to make sure our QC department's reviewed it before I put in those statistical tables.
So this is everything except the statistical data?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Miller?
Well, you said that the ladies need some kind of assistance. What kind of assistance are they asking for?
Well, what they're looking for, we were working with Ann Harity Shaver, and I think she was a little more than we were prepared to, our council was prepared to spend. I have every intention of working with John Montoro. Everybody in the business, I think, knows John Montoro. He's with Virginia Municipal League, Virginia Association of Counties, Finance, and instead of presenting a whole series of issues, we're going to start working a la carte and have Mr. Montoro resolve, one, the checking, that outstanding carryover, and then resolve issues as they come along. I think Treasurer's accountability statement needs some work. I'm not satisfied with that document. So we've got some things that we need to work on. We're not there yet. I think the ladies have an expectation they can receive some training, and I would like to do so. I know I can't spend more than $10,000, so I'll have to work on individual items and keep them under $10,000, and then come back to council if I need additional revenues. Not our best audit that we've had since I've been here.
I
But
was
it's-
just sitting here thinking, we spent, what, $50,000, $60,000?
We spent
For that
$47,000,
other lady that was here for training,
Mhm.
and she never trained.
and she did not get the job done.
And
correct.
I just don't see throwing money after money.
Well, you don't have a lot of choice at this point, okay? Really. We've got to fix this, okay? We can say we don't want it fixed, we're not going to put any more money to it. Those are options, but those are not good options. What we need to do is resolve the issues, okay? We need to resolve the issues.
$39,000, but we need to be good stewards of our.
We need to get down to the bottom of it. That's correct. That's correct.
Is it gonna cost more than $39,000 to find $9,000?
Excuse me?
Is it gonna cost more than $39,000 to find?
I don't anticipate that now.
In my opinion, it's gonna cost, we need to make sure we know where that money is.
I think it's already cost us
That part.
I mean, we already paid the lady, what, almost $40,000 or more.
Yeah, but that was the only issue that was.
She's working on a multitude of things, not just that one topic. But my plan, now that I'm going to be responsible for what's going on, specific, we're going to hand it as an a la carte. This is your one assignment. You resolve this checking issue. Your next assignment is this checking issue, and you'll give me a price associated with each of those particular issues. Once we receive invoicing that approaches $10,000, I come back to you and ask you if you want to continue to.
How long do you think we'll have to use the services of the VML financial gentleman?
We'll probably potentially,
Before the girls
as
start.
we worked with Sheila Miner, our previous finance director had Sheila Miner assist her for, I don't know, the entire time she was here. So, needless to say, we've had some consulting assistance probably since 2012, except for right now, we don't have any. All right.
Last year, I'm gonna borrow one of your rookie cards here, okay?
I'm out.
I don't even remember, I don't have much of a memory, I'm 63 years old. I did serve 8 years on council and four years finance chair. And I don't remember audits coming this late, this close to the budget. Is there something that we,
Yeah.
excited about that? Is this normally in the January, February timeframe?
No, it's not normal. And so I think we had it on the schedule to try to come out in the fall, and I think the consultant was just struggling to kind of get things to the point where it was ready for audit. And then I think January kind of rolled around, and we were like, we need to do this. Let's get in here and do it. And so we came in, started the field work in January. Ideally, I would have had this done in March. It's my fault that it's now and not March for sure. But yeah, we really weren't able to really get started until January.
Okay. I'm just trying to get some clarity here. This lady, Ann Shabert, what's her name?
Ann Harity Shaver.
Shabert, is she the cause of this being late?
Well, at least till the January point. Like I said, I usually like to give myself at least a month or two to get things done, but I would have liked to have had it finalized in March, and so.
It's very discouraging for me that we paid this astronomical rate to a vendor, and it doesn't look like we received a tenth of what we should have gotten, and now on top of that, she's held up this audit. So, I'm putting my grumble card on here, I'm grumbling. So, and I don't think it's any fault of yours, I think she came with good references, but is there
Excellent.
something we can do? Do we have any recourse, or the town just got fleeced, and we just have to deal with it? Is that what
Well,
happened?
we can certainly ask for some money back if you'd like to do
Very
so.
appropriate.
I'd be more than happy to discuss the topic with her. Whether she's agreeable to that, I don't know how far you guys want to press the matter, but it wasn't our favorite. But what I will explain to you, though, is the audit is typically presented in December. But if you remember, we're not really responsible for an audit anymore, as our population has dropped below 3,500. So the timing is not as important. The timing's important for drawdowns and grant applications and that sort of thing. And statutorily, we're obligated to present it to those funding agencies by the 1st of April, and we haven't been able to do that. But because we're under 3,500 population, we don't fall under the same obligations, say Nottaway County does, or Amelia County, or Powhatan County, or larger communities. So the delay is not the problem, but no offense, but I'd rather have hit it by April 1st, and so we get submitted out.
Is it also general practice to get the audit as we start the meeting? I mean, I'm sure you were working on it this week all the way up to try to finish it up, but.
Yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough to, for me. I admit, like I, in a normal circumstance, I would have had a final report out 2 weeks ago for sure.
And I've seen.
I'm not gonna run away from that. Admitting that fault of my own. But I'm not normally working on town audits in February, March. That's usually kind of our tax practice business at our office. So it's.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I usually carve out my time in the fall and the summer to work on my locality audits, and so it became a juggling act for sure. But no, hand up, I don't think I've ever come up here with a draft on a report and getting it to people with so little bit of time to review it. So I apologize for sure.
Well,
No need for that.
I'm gonna ask you to make up for it. I'm gonna continue this meeting until March 1st at 7 p.m. So that May 1st at 7 p.m. and allow my council members to do two things. One, to go over this audit, and number two, to be able to digest a very good comprehensive capital improvement plan. So we'll come back and we'll hear, if you can make that, we'll hear from you. And then we'll also have more time. We have a lengthy schedule, I'm old school, and I get the paper, and this is front and back with the council package. So we have a lengthy agenda, and council and I have discussed this after 10 p.m. We're really no use to anybody, and neither is staff. So could you come back?
I will certainly. That seems fair to me. As I don't have my schedule in front of me, but I've certainly.
First Wednesday of the month.
Okay. Assuming I'm in the clear, I'm here.
Okay. Members of council, am I on an island about my disgust with this contractor? Am I getting in front of you guys, or would you like to manage?
Excuse me.
It's past now, though. We can obviously approach her with the situation, but you're not gonna get anything.
It's like a guy who paints your home and you pay him, and you're not happy with the work afterwards. You find paint on the concrete and your windows weren't caulked, so what are you gonna do?
Well, I tell you what I can do, and this is what I'm asking you, is because my 3,500 bosses have been fleeced, and I'd like us to be on the record to say we don't appreciate it, and that's what I'm asking.
I agree with you.
Okay?
I do too.
All right, good enough.
Can I say one thing
Yes, ma'am.
before we move on real briefly, because I don't hold anybody's time? This young lady who did the audit for us last year, because I know when we voted on it, nobody was oversighting her or checking on her to see what was done or for corrections, or she never reported monthly, quarterly, or anything like that?
I don't think we had a monthly or quarterly report. I think the ladies were in contact with her, if not every day, every few days, and she would come to town periodically. I think you saw that there was a hotel bill on one of the invoices for her to come to town. But no, it was not a la carte. It was a series of, we need to work on this or we need to work on that, and I let it get away. I mean, I let her continue to work and put effort in. I assume you guys know Ann.
Honestly, not until I knew of you. But
She works with the town of Ashland and other places, and it was not acceptable, and I'll take full responsibility for letting it to become more than it was, and But that doesn't eliminate the fact that we still need some help to get this stuff.
Is there a way that we
fixed.
can have Mr. Horf look at the agreement between us and her and make sure she fulfilled her end of the agreement?
Done deal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm not directing any of my frustration at you, Mr. Mayor, okay? Our second speaker tonight is
You said May 1st at 7 p.m.?
correct. Is that agreeable to council?
Yeah, I'll email you. Sorry.
Thank you.
Do you need me any further?
No, sir.
I apologize.
Council,
Appreciate you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, sir.
appreciate your candor and your information, sir. Our second speaker tonight is Mr. Daniel Hanratty of the Blackstone Chamber of Commerce. Good to see you, Mr. Hanratty. What can we do for you this evening?
I came here to, well, I'll read the letter. Mayor Green and Council, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight on behalf of the Blackstone Chamber of Commerce. As the Executive Director, I'm here to request funding for the annual Blackstone 4th of July fireworks display. The Chamber recognizes the significance of hosting such an event in a military community like ours, not only for our local residents, but also for the men and women serving at Fort Barfoot. It's important to show appreciation for their sacrifices, especially for those who are away from their home during such a patriotic time and are unable to celebrate with their families. The fireworks display serves as a small token of our gratitude to them. Our goal is to make this 4th of July celebration memorable and impactful, showcasing the spirit of our nation. With funding support from the town of Blackstone, we aim to host a fireworks show that rivals those of much larger cities in Virginia. We've been fortunate to receive town funding in the past and hope for your consideration again this year. The fireworks display is highly anticipated and draws both local and residents and tourists alike. Hosting such an event aligns with number 4 of the town's council's goals of driving tourism and economic growth as outlined in its strategic plan for 2023 through 2027. By bringing in thousands of attendees, we can contribute to the town's tourism objectives and generate revenue through increased spending and tax contributions. It also aligns with number 3 of council's plans of providing entertainment for its youth and adults alike. We are requesting the use of the Blackstone Airport Airfield to host the event. We've already secured approval from Colonel Shaver, the commanding officer at Fort Barfoot, who has generously offered support in setting up and promoting this event. Additionally, the National Guard will provide recreational activities for youth and assist with event logistics to ensure its success. We've conducted informal surveys among local businesses and residents, and the overwhelming sentiment is in favor of continuing this tradition. Tonight, some of our community members are here to share their personal reasons for supporting the fireworks display. I would be extremely appreciative if we could have them speak prior to council making their final decision. I believe William Clark, our local celebrity folk artist, and Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Hoffman of the National Guard would like a brief moment to speak. We plan on the festivities to start at 5 p.m. on July the 3rd and continue until just after 9 p.m. when we would begin with the display. We intend to offer local food trucks the opportunity to set up in order to provide food and drink to the attendees. We do not plan, as the Chamber, to provide alcohol for sale, but do realize that our partner food trucks may wish to do so. In conclusion, we look forward to partnering with and promoting the town of Blackstone as a driving entity of this fun-filled event, which in turn should garner positive press for the town of Blackstone. We are formally asking for the contribution that was made by the town last year to be matched again this year. That contribution was $9,000. These funds will be used specifically to obtain proper insurance and also to pay for the fireworks. Thank you for your consideration and continued support of the Blackstone Chamber of Commerce and our initiative of driving commerce to the area.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You spoke of visitors. Are they here tonight, or you want to
I know-
have the opportunity to speak when passing the budget?
Mr. Mayor, I'm one of those.
Okay, did you want to speak tonight or a later date? I'm going to refer this to the Finance Committee and let them put it in the budget or whatever decision they make, and then the council will have a work session and go over the budget, and we'll have a public hearing, and then we'll have another meeting, and then another, but anyway, there'll be a public hearing for people to come and speak about that issue, okay? All right?
I can defer to that.
Okay, I would appreciate that, because I'm gonna refer this to,
And I appreciate
I
that.
don't think that it allows the time for planning.
I don't, yeah.
okay,
My only thing would be, council, we need to remember, we've got $15,000 to spend each year in the discretionary fund. As long as we know that going forward, last year, not this current fiscal year, last year we spent $39,000. have that 15, so we overspent.
I'll certainly entertain the motion.
I think for planning purposes, we can't kick the can down the road,
Okay.
personally. I don't know how everybody else feels.
Well, as Mayor Colvin taught me, council speaks through their motions.
Can you talk to me about your approvals for the airfield use?
Yeah, we had an informal conversation with Colonel Shaver. Kevin, as a lieutenant colonel, has direct access to him, obviously, and we did have an informal conversation, and he's more than welcome us to come there and use their facilities and everything. He's promised us to put up the bouncy tent for the kids and, you know, have logistical help and whatever he can do. He's giving us support.
I can remember I was very young when Fireworks for Freedom was on the airfield, but at that time there weren't 14 federal employees and an airport manager and a safety guy and an airport committee, and there's all sorts of things that are there now that weren't in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just encourage you to double check your approvals.
Sure.
To make sure that you're in the green there.
I appreciate that. We'll do that.
I would like to say something. I would like to go back to the finance committee because I feel that we have enough time. This is March, this is April. So it can go back within the next couple of weeks and then we'll come back as a panel and discuss it more. Because we had some opposition or we had some concerns about us giving $5,000 away. Now we're looking at $9,000. So I want to be fair to both and look at.
And I can certainly appreciate that. We will hit a point where it's not going to be feasible to get a firework company to come in and do it. Obviously, everybody's fighting for these same companies to do their 4th of July fireworks. So we will.
Hold on, Mr. Miller. I'm very sympathetic of that.
Sure.
I'm gonna ask Chairman Nash, could you meet with finance before the 1st and report back then, and we'll take it up on the 1st?
I would appreciate that.
Is that a pretty good compromise?
Yeah, absolutely, Mayor.
Same answer.
Okay.
That we have a fund to work with, and that's what we gotta stay within that balance, but.
Well, again,
Absolutely,
I
yes,
don't
let's
mind
go for
referring it. Ms. Williams has asked for it to be referred, and I've done so, but I'm always open to a motion from council.
I just had a question. How much of the 9 is for insurance?
4.
4? Is it, insurance even on military site is still required to have that?
Yeah, they're not going to indemnify themselves. I mean, we're going to need to have insurance for it.
I was just curious.
I haven't heard any motion, so that's the plan. I'm gonna refer it to Chairman Nash and his committee.
Yeah.
And we'll come back on the 1st, and we'll take it up then.
Well, I do appreciate you listening to me tonight, Mayor. Council,
for your
thank you.
presentation. Very much appreciated. Our third visitor tonight is Mrs. Grace McDonald with the Friends of the Library. It's good to see you, Grace. How you doing?
Great to be home. That's what
Well,
I got
we're glad
to
to have
say.
you. How can we help?
It's wonderful to be home. So I'm here just to talk to you as the president of the Friends of the Library because we feel it's important that you know that we're active in the community and that we're working hard to promote literacy and reading, especially for our children. The Friends help generate community support for the library and build greater awareness for the variety of services and resources available there. We provide support for programs, buy special equipment and books for the library, which may not be otherwise available through current funding. One of those programs is the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which sends a book monthly to those children who enroll from the age of when they're born to 5 years old. The current cost per child is $25.20 per year. And currently we have 220 children registered in the county in this program. So the funding for this comes from the Friends, but not just the Friends. A lot of other organizations support this program. One of the Friends' major activities is operating the Bookend at 102 Maple Street here in Blackstone. This used bookstore helps us raise funds for the Friends as well as provide the only bookstore in our community. The rent for us to have this bookstore is our major expense this year. All of the books in the store are donated by many book lovers, and we carry all kinds of books for all readers of all ages. We encourage parents to stop by and check out our selection of young adults and children's books, many of which are marked with reading levels. We would be a good resource for any homeschoolers. As a way to increase our revenues, we have started to offer book-themed items such as t-shirts, note cards, bookmarks, all of which are donated and crafted here locally. Just so everyone knows, we are currently open Monday and Thursday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Tuesday and Friday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and we're closed on Wednesdays. We occasionally have a special sale day on a Saturday, and the bookend is completely manned by volunteers. We now have a track phone so that people may call us at 434-312-1185 for more information and to leave a message. Also, Francis and Sarah Gilmore have generously offered one of the windows at their business on Main Street as a location for us to promote the bookend. Special events and sales will be posted there as well as at the store. We would encourage everyone to follow us on Facebook at the Bookend, Blackstone, Virginia, to keep up to date on our activities and any specials at the store. We are a nonprofit 501c3 organization, so any donations, either monetary or books, are tax deductible, and no one associated with the Friends receives any compensation. There are many events that we organize and participate, so I'd like to just tell you about a few. We partner with the Rotary this year to give out free dictionaries to every third grader in the county. The Friends also participated in the community Easter egg hunt at Say Park on Saturday, May 30, by providing 300 children's books to be given away free. We now have a Mother's Day basket raffle going on to raise money, and the tickets are very reasonable, $1 each or 5 for $6, and the drawing will be on May 3rd at the Bookend. This month, we're also doing a membership mailing to raise awareness of the Friends and to hopefully increase our support and encourage people to become volunteers and to help us in our efforts to promote reading and literacy in our community. We'll be participating in the Juneteenth event in Blackstone by giving away books to those who stop by to see us. We also support the summer reading program at the library with a monetary donation and supplies as needed. We also are present at the Arts and Crafts Festival so that people know that we're active in town and they can see what we have to offer at the Bookend. And we've been on the porch of the Blackstone Library for many years after the Grand Illumination, giving away free books to the children. And then during November and December, we plan to have another Christmas basket raffle with the drawing to take place on December 17th. Through all these events, we give away approximately 1,000 books this year to support literacy and reading here in Blackstone. I hope all of you will consider the importance of our libraries in the community, and especially consider any requests from the library director for needs at the library as you finalize the budget for next year. Tonight, I have an invitation for each of you and invite you and the public to join us at our open house at the Bookend on Friday, May 3rd from 5 to 7 p.m. Light refreshments will be served. We would like each of you to stop by to see us and to see what we have at the Bookend, to meet the Friends of the Library and other book lovers in the community. So I thank you, and I do have an invitation for each of you.
Madam Clerk, you have that phone number she provided. Can you have that in the minutes, please? Thank you. All right, any questions for Ms. McDonald? Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I hope we'll see you at an open house.
And you said that was it? I don't have the invitation.
Friday, May 3rd.
At what time?
5 to 7.
5 to 7.
Just to let you, I have a wedding rehearsal that evening, so I may make the very end of it, but most likely not.
Well, we'll forgive you for
I
that.
apologize. Thank you, though. I appreciate for you guys for what you do.
Thank you.
When I did the counting of the numbers, oh, that's right, I still have the church, right? Spring Hill is, Pastor, I didn't see, I've got to do better. I would have much rather you give the invocation than myself.
You did a wonderful job,
Well,
wonderful job. I want to pass these around. Proposal. And
You good, Mr. Harf?
I have an extra one if you need it.
Let's see, how many minutes? I think we're good here.
I don't have
We're
one.
one short.
Okay.
No, we're not.
No, I still don't
Does
have
council have
one. There
one?
we go. Thank you, man.
Okay.
All right. Travis Warren, pastor of Spring Hill Baptist Church. Once again, we come before you hoping that we can partner with the town on leasing the building at 410 Harrison Street. We read through the memo from the lawyer, and we tried to adjust our proposal to meet the requirements. I won't go through every item on here, but I will touch on the updates. One of the things I want to point out is that in Blackstone, it's on the first page, but just looking at the poverty rate here, it's 22.3% people living below the level of poverty. The state average is 10%. That definitely defines a need for help here in Blackstone, which Spring Hill is trying to do. On the second page, third page, I'm sorry, it has the proposal. The fourth page is where I want to get to, where there was some concerns previously. What we're hoping is that the town is able to secure grant funding to do the renovations for the building. After they renovate the building, then we would hope that we have the opportunity to enter into partnership with the town in leasing the building. At this point, what we're proposing is that we offer $500 a year plus 25% towards utilities to cover payment. Now, the reason why we chose that number is because this is not funded by the church. The church tithes and offering will not be used for this. It will be donations. So we tried to meet a level that we felt that we could facilitate. Next, we have on the next page, what we have is the list of benefits of us working together as a town and the outreach center. It gives an expanded reach. We join together. The community will see us operating as one unit. I know people have been saying here lately there was some racial issues. This is not about race. This outreach center will be open to everyone. We're also asking other nonprofit churches to partner with us on this. So we want to just squash that right now. It's not about race, but it is about helping God's people. That's the whole goal behind this. We're not looking for a profit. We're not aiming to take anything from anyone. What we're doing is we're giving away more than we're receiving. So any fees that we do receive, it will go directly back into administrative support of the building. It also will drive increased impact here in the town. People will see the church and the town working together as one unit. I think that's a good thing. I think it's a positive thing. So often people want to keep people separated. I understand the separation between church and state, but I'm just saying we work together as a partner to make a better community for Blackstone. Blackstone is a great place to live, although I live in Prince George, but I want to see this town strive. I want to see the best for Blackstone. That's why we're doing this. We're not doing this just to say, we're doing something out in the community. We want to help, and that's why we're asking for this building.
I don't think there's anyone that doubts your intentions, okay? Based on receiving this tonight and showing you the due respect you deserve, I can't read this and
I understand.
And we are coming back here on the 1st of May.
You got me all messed up too, yeah.
I would like for Mr. Harf to review this.
Sure.
I'd like him to present council with a brief, and we'll provide a package with all the information, including this.
Sure.
And I want to do it right. It seems to be that some people spoke that maybe we procedurally didn't do it correctly. I want to make sure that our attorney is on board, and then we can make a rational decision. I guess what I'm trying to say, I'm stammering a little bit. I don't want us to make a decision and then have the attorney tell us that we got a boo-boo. So
right.
Let's do it right. I don't think y'all in a hurry. I think
no, we're
based
not.
on my conversations with you, I think what you do is neat and in order. And so if you don't mind, I'm gonna bring this before the council on the 1st of May.
Yeah, we weren't expecting a decision tonight. We knew that you had to go back because you just received it today and read through it. So we just wanted to present this to you, also to state the fact that, we just want to help. That's the only thing we're trying to do, help the community.
Available to come back on the 1st?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, that sounds great. Council, do you have any questions between now and the 1st? Thank you so much, Pastor.
Thank you.
I made a
Thank
mistake,
you.
Mr. Lee. I promised number 5 to a very pretty lady, and I'm sorry she outranked you. All good. Chairman Green with DBI, will you come forward? Y'all can understand, right? I was very busy today, council, and I don't like to do this, but the only reason you have this additional information at your desk is because we're dealing with timing. Mr. Allman, our DBI liaison, or either Chairman Green, if y'all can help me out, but you have for the public, you have a letter, a proposed letter from me to DHCD, and some figures and explaining the grant. So would you, one of y'all, bail me out of this hole I'm digging?
I can start with the broad picture. The broad picture is every year DVI gets a shot at a downtown investment grant called our DIG grant. Our current DIG grant is the one that's providing the money for the square, for the $75,000 grant for that. This year, because we realized the town's financial predicament, it's a little tighter this year. We always try to go after the DIG grant, so we went after a much smaller portion of it. Instead of the full $75,000, we're asking for $20,000 this year for adding some more light pole banners. We really like the veteran light pole banners downtown, and we thought if we had a banner on the other side, we could do some other festive banners on one side, while in keeping with our promise of keeping those banners up for the 8 years for the people that donated from. So again, this application, I can let you do the numbers. Do the spreadsheet if that works. Or you want me to? Oh, you don't
I don't have it in front of me. We also included some marketing materials for the downtown, or for Blackstone as a whole. We would like to create more of a brochure, a welcome brochure that would maybe have a QR code to send any visitors to all of our shopping. And then to make some additional updates to the travel website and our website. So the numbers we came up with for the banners and the brackets you see there is approximately $19,000. The marketing materials about $5,000. So that would be the total cost of the project. We would apply for $20,000, which would mean a $10,000 match from the town, which could be cash and in kind. So we figured on in kind installing all the banners to be approximately $5,500, and a cash match of $4,500.
Members of council, you have any questions about the materials that you were presented this evening?
We've already applied for the grant, and we need the verification from the council by tomorrow.
We have a new requirement for verification of funds that we weren't aware of, which is why this is a little.
I apologize for the last moment, but last minute.
Just told another request that.
Well, I don't have to excuse myself because I don't get to vote, so,
The spirit
The
of,
reason I asked you to consider this one is because there's $20,000 of free money on the table. This is a little different than your average request because it's a grant request. DBI has special access to Virginia Main Street Fund, a special buck for money, and that's what we're trying to capitalize on every year. So
it's not free. I mean, it costs $4,500, but yeah, there's free money on the table. But I do think,
20,000 of it.
it's a good proposal. I'll motion that we accept it and do the match for the $4,500.
Mr. Page has moved. Is there a second?
I got a question.
Can I get a second before we have discussion, please? Is there, Mr. Alman? Mr. Alman, second, Mr. Miller?
Hey, Mr. Mayor, said we just told the Chamber of Commerce that they had to wait.
Well, the only reason they're asking for it, there's no we to it, is that this has to be turned in tomorrow. Otherwise, I would bring it back up on the first.
Insurance needs to be in by tomorrow for the chamber. I mean,
I would say that the chamber has we're getting at the deadline as well. Just, it's not tomorrow, but it's,
the reason I separate these, I would separate those two. When the DPS position was funded, it was funded as a position to go after grant money. That's what I came to present. That's what we all agreed on, and that's what we're doing. We have special access to that grant money, and we don't like to let it pass by. Again, we drastically reduced what the scope could be out of respect to the town's financial position to get it down to our goal was a less than $10,000 match, and we ended up at 4,500.
It's the right proposal. I think it's a good project for downtown. It shows us being a military town. It keeps with the beautification. It's the right thing to do. We should do it. So.
Do we know what we have expended in our council discretionary for this current year?
It's been.
This would be next year.
This would be
next fiscal year.
I have a stupid question. If we go through with this tonight, are we gonna have to vote again to accept the grant?
I believe the DBI board would vote to accept the grant, but yes, there would be a second vote to accept the grant. This would be necessarily this board.
I'm all for the grant, don't get me wrong, but we constantly spend 10,000 here, 4,000 here, 20,000 each meeting. We don't budget it, guys.
Well, here's the deal.
I'm not refuting.
I'll make a deal, and this is more of a handshake deal. If this comes up in the town, we can't find it in the budget, then I will personally vote against it on the DBI board, and I think that we'd have some others that would follow. The only reason this is pressing now is, again, because this is an unexpected deadline that we didn't have, and we hadn't finished our budget for next year, so we haven't been able to put it in either.
It does keep up with the spirit of DBI, and the project is for downtown, and we are a military town. I think it's the right project.
All right, I wanna hear from other members of council. Does anyone else want to weigh in? You have a motion made by Mr. Page and seconded by Mr. Almond. Is there any more discussion or questions?
Well, I agree with Mr. Page, simply because of the fact that I'm a military brat. And I love the fact that they do acknowledge the fort, even in the renaming. And they put the banners up throughout the year, throughout town, so I agree.
Yeah, and for the DBI board themselves, we voted on a transformation study that would build a better partnership with Blackstone, with our Fort Barfoot neighbor and our Department of State neighbor. And we're floating around with our 10-year vision, and one of the proposals was we want to be the most patriotic small town in Virginia. That's what we want to do.
I think Fast C brings a lot of money here and the base itself, and we could take it out of lodging tax that they're constantly spending it on. We could take it out of the power those facilities are taking. $4,500 is a drop in the bucket compared to what that base is bringing into town. That's all I'm saying.
All right, any other discussion? I did hear both sides, so I'm gonna ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Gormas.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0. Anything else for council?
No, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Mr. Gordon Lee, thank you for being patient, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time tonight. I drove from North Carolina to speak after seeing an article in the newspaper. My wife and I, Patty, formerly owned 101 on Main Street. We owe the town $7,000 and something in meals tax. From day one, when our business went under, when we were struggling, I told the treasurer of the town it is not a political statement, but I didn't have any money to pay. On March the 1st, I told the town treasurer, specifically because the house, my wife and I made a very serious commitment to pay our debts. We sold our house of 28 years on family land. I am now an outcast in my family because I sold, but it's what we had to do to pay our debt. On March 1st, I informed the treasurer, who I found out later was sitting in Mr. Van Ormick's office on speakerphone evidently, that when my house sold, I would pay the town tax when I had the money. The house was already under contract. Okay, the house was sold. The buyer, unfortunately, had a VA loan. If you've ever had a VA loan, there's hoops you got to jump through. You got to fix this, you got to do this, you got to do that. On the 14th, and I will gladly show you my bank statements, My wife, who had gotten laid off from Capital One, received her final lump sum check, which was enough to cover the town taxes. On the 15th, I was in Philip's office with my checkbook, willing to pay the town taxes. However, they had already contacted an attorney, even though I told them I didn't have the money, I was going to pay when I got it. I got served with a warning debt on the 12th. Now there's $1,955 worth of legal fees. So if you see a man walking down the street struggling to carry his load, you're going to pick up another rock and put it on him? So instead of the $7,000 that I'm willing to pay because I owe, and I got the money on the 14th, was in his office on the 15th. This is where we stand. Legal fees that did not need to exist. When all you have in this life is your word, okay? The last thing he said to me in his office referred to me as another former business owner that was arrested for not paying meals tax. I did not appreciate that. I am not that person. That person never should have been brought up. He made it personal. Now, I will pay my meals tax. I fully agree to that. But the legal fees, I mean, you slammed $1,955 and some change more on me when I, as a man, told you I'm going to pay. That's not the way this town needs to do business. You just said yourself, y'all are down to under 3,500 people. You know, y'all got to be respectful of people in the times they're in. I mean, when a business closes, it's not because I'm rich. And I appreciate your time. I wanted to tell my side of the story because in the Courier Record, there was something about Philip's remarks to y'all at the last meeting. The owner has agreed to pay the meals tax. There's something about the legal fees I don't know. He knew because I was standing in his office.
Well, if you don't mind me interjecting, and I'm interrupting you because I'm afraid I'm going to forget, okay? The action that was taken to you was triggered by statute. It wasn't personal. It wasn't, let's pick on Mr. Gordon Lee. And although I'm extremely sensitive to the hard times you've had, I am. I've faced several hard times. And I hope and pray I don't have to face another one. But the fact of the matter, Mr. Lee, is let's get down to brass tacks.
Yeah, it's all, you got to cover your butt. I get it.
These funds were intended to be segregated. They weren't. This was town taxes that belonged to the treasury of Blackstone, and so they should have been paid when they were due, right? So, sir.
With all due respect, Mr. Lee, that wasn't your money to spend. That you were collecting it for the citizen to give to the town.
Okay.
The citizen was paying.
I fully understand the law. I do. And I understand. I do. But at some point, y'all got to turn human being and treat humans like humans. If I tell you I'm going to pay the money, if I call you on March 1st and say, well, as soon as my house sells, but guess what? I got the money before the house sold. I was in the office to pay. I'm willing to pay. Y'all are adding more burden on top. That makes no sense.
Council out to be the boogeyman because
I'm not.
Because if you only knew how many people, and this I'm not referring to you, how many people have told the town manager, I'm good for it, I swear I'm going to do this, and skip town on us. I've had conversations with the manager about how much we lose annually from people skipping out. It's amazing. It's astonishing. So what the council was very deliberate and cautious in the manner that they handled your account. And I understand that you're frustrated, but this is a very compassionate group in a very compassionate town. I can't sit here and tell you how many things we do. We do workforce homes. We do.
I understand,
we do a
Mayor.
lot of things that other towns don't do.
But were any of my remarks reflected to town council that I was going to pay? Or was it under the assumption that I was just like that other person that got arrested and was making a big political statement?
I wasn't in the room when this happened. I'm talking about here
I
today.
understand,
okay?
but
And what
don't
I'm-
refer to me as somebody who tried to get over on the town.
I'm not referring, I haven't referred to you
It was,
that.
it was,
And I don't-
that's the way it was referred to me by your town
May I
manager.
ask a question?
Absolutely.
I'm sympathetic to your position, I am, and like the mayor says, these things are done by statute, so like they automatically, they're written in the code. And like Mr. Jake Allman said, he has a point as well, you know, you're there to collect, and I think you recognize that. But if you're willing to pay the amount that's past due and you have the money, the taxes themselves, and you're only disputing attorney fees, have you made that payment?
He refused the payment. I was in his office
Right,
with a
right.
checkbook.
But we have,
Well, we turned the matter over to tax, the
Right.
company that handles this kind of thing for us.
but they would have
And
took
at
the
this time-
7,000, right? They would have collected the 7,000. You could have called the collection agency and said, I only want to pay 785. Now, they may not agree to it, but they would have took the payment.
Nope,
Yeah.
they would not. I tried. Partial payment, but payment in full. They still want the 9,000, not the 7,000 I owe.
I didn't
Yeah,
say that
yeah.
they would agree to waive the fees, but they should always be willing to take whatever payment the customer's willing to make. And if they're not, then we need to look into that, but I would
Okay.
feel a lot more
I-
comfortable had that
look,
payment been
I'm
made.
not here to dispute anything. I want y'all to understand, okay? Y'all've got to get back on the human level and stop taking this town business. I mean, I'm not gonna say it. Sometimes, and the way it comes across is y'all are sitting up here acting like God. And that's not the way it's supposed to be.
I take exception to that.
No,
and
because
you're not
y'all
allowed-
are making.
You're not allowed to make disparaging comments to the council.
It's not a disparaging comment,
it
Ben.
is.
It's, I said it was like. Y'all are making decisions and you're not putting the human factor in. There are humans in this town.
I think we do, and I think we do it too much. We make decisions based on feelings and not by the law and by facts. So I have to disagree with you, and I won't let you stand here and say unflattering comments. To
Well,
this-
if I upset you, Mayor, I apologize. I'm not here to upset y'all. Like I said, I am here to make the statement. Y'all need to get back to treating people like human beings, period. And the
Do you have
comment,
a request for the council, sir? Do you have a request?
no, sir, I do not.
All right, well, I have a lengthy agenda. I think you've made your point. And members of council, do you have any questions?
I would just encourage you to pay the principal amount. I mean, you may dispute the other amount, but at least pay.
I'm gonna pay, again, I'm not here to dispute. What I'm here saying is y'all just need to treat people like human beings and not put more burden on them.
I got it the first time.
Yep.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Who's next, Madam Clerk?
Philip,
Nice.
Philip, can you make sure that they are taking whatever payment somebody's willing to pay?
Just we got a little chat going on. Just a second. You can put it in the paper. I'm not gonna be as tolerant toward him again. And we will be long.
People write checks with their mouth.
We gonna be long. Let's get back on track or we're not gonna get out of here. Sir, state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, my name is James Crawley. This is my wife, Ann Crawley. We live at 902 Luke Street, Blackstone.
Good to meet you.
Thank you. We're here, we turned in submitted a traffic comment request. We've been having trouble on Luke Street, Ball Street, with speeders. I mean, not just running 35. They rolling. And we had a bad accident out there, and it's dangerous. And our request is to see if we can get speed bumps to slow them down, maybe to they won't be driving quite as fast, because somebody got real hurt in an accident a few weeks ago.
A tragic thing.
Yeah, it was. Somebody could have got killed, because I was looking out my window when they passed by my turn, and I didn't know that they was an accident later, but it was.
Well, I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to seek information here.
Yes, sir.
And you're making great points. Thank you. is it a select few, or is it outsiders of your neighborhood that are speeding through here, or is it just a general problem?
But see, I I can't say who is speeding.
Okay.
I'm just saying traffic is coming through there. A lot of time people come in our area that don't live there, you know, and it could be some that's in the area. I can't say, you know.
I see the police chief here. He seems to be very attentive.
Okay.
If you will, let me work on the short term and long term. Okay. Let me engage with the town manager and see about your speed bumps.
Yes.
But in the meantime, Chief Murphy, would you install the radar? That thing really works. And what it'll be is it's a big box that shows your speed,
Right.
and it brings attention. It also shows the presence of Chief Murphy's department, and if you will, a few more patrols daily until we can talk about.
But we ain't gonna forget about the speed bump
No,
thing.
sir, I'm not forgetting anything.
Okay.
The work doesn't allow me to figure.
Okay, we already done did the paperwork. We done turned the paperwork already in.
We have a list of number names.
I gave him the policy and I created a spreadsheet and he's gotten.
We done got the signatures.
They've gotten the signatures and that was the next step.
Okay.
So we do have that in the office.
I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna refer this to Chairman Miller. He's the chairman of Street and Light.
Okay.
And, I'm gonna tell him what you said. I'm gonna stay with him, okay?
All right.
Okay, praise the
But in
Lord.
the meantime, our able-bodied chief here is gonna give you some devices over there that'll calm down. And, I know that wreck was tragic.
Oh, yeah.
It
I
was.
know you can't have that. And
What's
you
that
have
same
a very
clause?
quiet night, and the people over there are just really good people. You don't need this foolishness, Mr. Man.
For police chief, is there any way we can upgrade the speed sign to where it will actually record the data to where tickets could be given if it was a camera system of any type over a certain threshold?
I think that's gotta be a man with the gun, with the radar gun. I've heard that before, but.
How do traffic lights do it and take pictures of your?
They're civil fines.
I mean, so anything's better than nothing, so.
It would have to be done besides me, you guys would have to.
Well, how about we do this? We'll have Mr. Miller and his committee take it up with the attorney. And we're sympathetic, but the government takes a little bit more time, but we'll get it done, okay? You have my
Okay,
commitment.
get it done. We'll be back now.
Okay. I invite you to come back.
Yeah, thank you,
I
man.
know you will.
And it sounds like you have the commitment of this fine council.
And
Thank
Mayor,
you,
I've been
Mayor.
working with Mr. Crawley also. They called me with this information, so I've been working with them through the
Yes.
whole process.
Yes, she did.
So
Thank y'all.
you've got it on the front burner.
All right,
Okay?
all right.
Thank y'all for your patience too.
All right.
I've known them since I was
And
a
when they
child.
come up here and they treat us respectful, you know, it means a lot to me. All right. Are there any other visitors that would like to come forward at this time? Before I hear from the police chief, we probably have a 30-minute closed session. That's gonna put us at the 9 o'clock hour. On the unfinished business, is there anything, when we come to that point, if there's anything pressing?
We do have a couple items.
Okay, and then whatever you can put off until the first, I'd be grateful, okay? Mr. Fire Chief, Chief Tumler. Good evening, sir, it's good to see you.
Good evening. I'll try and make this extremely quick.
Brevity and levity, as the man leaving the door would say.
Under old business, there hasn't been much updates on the radio project. Of course, money's the issue, and the multi-million-dollar project, they're trying to figure out how to cut back some and make it feasible for the county and the citizens without having to incur a tax increase to ensure that not only an animal shelter but also a new communication system is developed for our county. I would like to thank town manager on the hydrant maintenance moving forward. I've noticed it under unfinished business in this month's packet. Hopefully y'all will agree on moving forward with that. Our water flow is essential to firefighter operations, especially on our larger structures such as Main Street, our shopping centers and so forth. Single house, not as important to us. Water supply is definitely needed, but not thousands of gallons of water. So it would be excellent to have this project undertaken. Under new business, thank you all for looking at the aerial device. We've been really rolling on putting equipment on it. It's going to be a blessing to the community. This thing's smarter than a lot of us, and it takes a very minimal amount of knowledge to actually use it and set it up. As discussed earlier with Mr. Gormas, it does flow 2,000 gallons a minute if properly supplied, and that's why the hydrant inspection program that we talked about in the maintenance program is really important to us. We're still looking for a late June to hopefully get in service, push in July timeframe. It's just really hard to schedule something in summer months with people's availabilities, holidays, and so forth. But as soon as we figure something out, we'll let you know of when we're going to be moving forward with pushing it in, doing an official ceremony. Our recruitment and retention committee is really starting to expand their efforts in bringing in members and also providing more of a better atmosphere within the organization, especially in our day room, to make it more family oriented. Currently, we have, I believe, 18 members that have served over 20 years. It sounds great, but it is really a bad problem because after 20 years, you do get burnt out. And, you know, waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning isn't one of the big things that you do after 20 years of service because you're also up there in age as well. So we're looking at bringing in younger people, trying to get that motivation back. Sadly, throughout the United States, this is a problem. It's just not us, it's everywhere. If we did have to transition to a career-type organization, the town would, and county, because I think the county would have their feet in this as well, you're looking at millions of dollars in salaries alone. So there's bigger standards that have to be withheld. So we're doing our best with what we can to ensure that we have the best turnout possible when we have a call. Regretfully, as I said, people don't work in town no more. People don't live in town much. We don't have many members of our organization that are in town. So to get an engine out at 3 o'clock in the morning, it might take 10 plus minutes to get a fire engine out the door because of that.
I'm going to ask a stupid question, Mr. Manager. Do we incentivize town employees to participate in the fire department?
I can't say we incentivize them with financial contribution, but we certainly allow any town employee that is on the fire department, and I don't know if you even have any.
We don't anymore. Timmy,
David Ostrander was very active at one time.
Tim Barnes, yeah.
We never gigged anybody for their time, and they could run a call and still get paid. No, we didn't make them use comp time.
And it was a huge asset because we knew they were coming.
Yeah.
Well, let's get through this audit and this budget and some of this stuff, and maybe we can get together and think about some ways we'll come to the council.
Okay. The next thing on the agenda is affecting all of emergency services throughout the Commonwealth. Our ALS drug box, under some new federal regulation, we get these for free. The medications, including narcotics, cardiac medication, is provided by the hospital system, and we just hold on to a box, we use it, we give that box to the hospital, they give us a new box. Under new regulations, they're saying now we have to purchase all of the medicine, have to store the medications, have to have an alarm system, a locked room for it, a camera system, licenses for these medicines. It's becoming a big thing for all volunteer organizations. Within the county, I believe Burkeville Fire Department has requested right around 20,000, the squad over 30,000 just to get this program started. We initially were looking at just back sizing our organization, just going from an advanced life support agency to a BLS support agency. We stop the bleeding, airway, breathing, circulation, and we wait for that ambulance to show up. There was some contingency within the department when that was brought forth because they really feel that the ALS agency does provide a valuable service to the community. So internally, we're trying to look at our options and opportunities, look at the data, how much ALS we actually go on, what do we need, and will this work? We wanted to partner with the squad. Hey, can you store the medications? We buy them off of you. And from what we're being told, that's illegal. So they're really putting a lot of burden on the individual entities moving forward.
Have we discussed this with the county's emergency coordinator, Mr. Buddy Hyde? And is there any kind of grant funding to come up with the money you need to continue the program? It could be a matter of life and death.
So Buddy is involved in it. Hence, it was brought up in the budget planning aspects to see about moving forward. So he is 100% on board with, trying to figure out how to make this work. The downfall, we are one agency that does not provide an ambulance. We just do first responder services. So Burkeville and Nottoway Rescue, they transport. So it's a little bit of a different scenario. And for me to say it's worth $20,000, I personally need to see data to make sure that we're spending money appropriately and that we're getting the best. But on the downfall, nobody complains about it until it's them having the heart attack and they wish they had the drugs. So it's just like a fire truck. Everybody complains about the money, but their house is on fire. They're very happy to be there. So it's just one of those faults that we have to work through and figure out what's the best avenue to move forward. This Saturday, I think the weather will hold out well. We got our golf tournament. We sold out of teams, which was really impressive. I believe it's 18 teams, and we actually had members that wanted to continue to play. We had to turn away teams. So this has become a great fundraiser for us, and we have a good time. Huge community involvement, too, with sponsoring holes. A lot of our vendors are actually sponsoring holes and equipment. We have a good time, and it's usually a great fundraiser for us as well. This week, National Public Safety Communications Week. Please, if you see a dispatcher, Nottoway Sheriff's Office did post some pictures of their dispatchers I saw today. Reach out to them. The town does pay $22,500 a year to Nottoway County Sheriff's Office to support the dispatching program when we stop doing dispatching here. So these are not only county dispatchers, you guys also have a huge part in, well, I don't want to say huge, $22,000 doesn't touch much of their budget, but you have a piece of the pie, I would say, in the communication system for 911. And lastly is the years of celebration that are in front of you for all our members. And that's all I have.
Some pretty amazing numbers.
That's excellent.
Excellent.
All right.
Members of council, I'm gonna start writing letters to those that have 25 years of service. Any objections to that? Thank them on your behalf.
I think that's wonderful.
I think you should go to 20.
20 is done. Yes, sir, Mr. Nash, 20 years, and I will send them a.
Thank you. I think that's very nice. I know we try to get somewhat of the same thing out of the county for resolutions and stuff, but they felt that it was a little bit too much. Just a letter, I think, is appreciable from the council.
While you're up here, just so the Penguin Dispatch Service in the bill, what is that?
Penguin is e-dispatch,
Okay.
which I'm hoping to get rid of when we transition to IAR with the two-tone direct.
I would add too, I think the county's intending to take over fully the Code Red.
Code Red and IAR, correct.
Thank you, Chief.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Members of council, you have before you 2 batches of bills this evening. The first batch has been paid but needs council approval. And these bills totaled $563,051.50. Mr. Nash moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller seconds. Is there any questions about these bills? I'll ask for a roll call vote for approval starting with Mr. Gormas.
Aye.
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 That motion carries 7-0. The second batch of bills that you have before you, they need to be approved and paid, and they're in the amount of $251,200.93. May I have a motion to approve? Mr. Nash moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Williams second. Is there any discussion or question?
Yeah, I see some property tax refunds from 3 years ago, 21, 22. One for business, one for personal. I mean, what's administration, page 1 of 8. So they paid the tax in 2021. We're giving it back to them now. Was there an over? understand. Thank you. Okay,
Any other questions?
thank you.
Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Gormus.
Aye.
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 That motion carries 7-0. Mr. Manager, are there any appropriations for council to consider? Moving right along to committee reports, we have 3 tonight. We'll begin with employment and police, and this committee met on the 19th and the 3rd. Mr. Norbeck or Chairman Miller, would you care to report?
You want to go? You want me to? I'll go. I'm getting there. Hang on. I know I'm slow here. I'll just read very quickly. We discussed raises that potentially could be included in the budget, merit raises as well as, and clarifying what was presented initially as merit raises, but they're really just step increases that the council had approved previously for certain departments. We discussed a human resource position. The committee has some interest in hiring a full-time person to handle human resource activities for the town. Personnel policy, we discussed this, and the policy is already in place, so there does not need to be modification, therefore no recommendation. But we do have a staff meeting tomorrow morning, and that staff meeting is going to obviously deal with health insurance and renewals and all those kinds of things and getting people re-enrolled. But also we're going to discuss that in order to donate sick time, our policy requires you to only donate to somebody who is currently has a valid Family Medical Leave Act. I think it's something that's been treated like trading cards a little bit too much, and so I've asked the council to support me in the enforcement of that ordinance, and we will be meeting.
Done so, right?
Pardon?
I believe we've done so, the council.
Oh, yeah. I'm the committee that we've discussed so far, and then we'll present it to the employees tomorrow. We had the de-escalation training on March 26th, and was well attended. And I think Chief Murphy also made presentation about some of the positions and movement of positions and discussion about officers and rank and that sort of thing. And again, I think there was a second meeting on the 3rd of April, and we rediscussed the COLA, cost of living, and merit and step raises, and I think it was understood by the committee, and hopefully we were able to answer their questions. And again, we discussed that human resource position. It's one of the things that the Finance Committee and Town Council is going to have to wrestle with in funding a position. Okay.
I'll go ahead and do it now. I was gonna wait for referrals, but I'm gonna refer to the Finance Committee adding an HR position. Okay?
Can we discuss what we discussed in the meeting on covering the payment of such a position? Don't you think so, Mr. Moore? I mean, you want to speak to this?
You're more than welcome to. It would be, it'd be good to hear.
Yeah, I mean,
hear the
we
council's-
brought it up. We brought it up with the explanation of how it could be covered. We have 13 police, no disrespect to the police department at all. Thank you. But we have 13, and there is another position that's still vacant. $47,000. The realignment of the police team that Mr. Murphy was speaking of would allow for $15,000 less than currently budgeted. That's $62,000. And a starting HR person, you could probably start them at 50 if you're talking about 65 for top end pay.
That's top end of the salary range that we presented.
So that was where, we didn't just throw it out there. We had numbers.
Well, it makes sense. If you don't mind me commenting, one of the things that differentiates Blackstone from other small towns is our outstanding police department.
Yes, sir.
And I would beg the council to find the funds from somewhere else and not cut a position from public safety.
I hear what you're saying, I do, but I honestly believe we have more than the county does right now, don't we?
Yeah, but crime's also been skyrocketing,
think we
including
have
violent crime since in the
manpower
last
that
year.
they need.
Yeah.
Okay. We've been discussing this HR position for the last 5 years, probably. Every time we think we're gonna get one, something always comes up. So what the Employment and Police Committee is asking us to give consideration as far as this HR officer.
Well, you're on that committee.
It's been here, we brought it up every year, and every year it just goes down. So, and the reason why I'm pushing for this is because we need it. We need an HR person, and there's no need in fighting.
Okay, well, I've referred it to the committee, and you're a member of that committee.
Philip and I sat down Thursday, and we're gonna be having an account finance committee meeting, obviously. And Philip presented what is a rough balanced budget to me, and he wanted to know my opinion. My opinion is we're short $250,000. We gotta figure out, so I told him, I said, look, let's not add stuff in there. This is council's budget. Let's make a bullet point of what's in there and what's not in there. And that's where we have to figure out what we add and what we don't add. So.
Also need to identify what we don't need that's already in there.
100%.
That's also a good list.
So, I mean, and when I say we're short $250,000, I mean, it's simple stuff like, are we stocking away? I mean, this is a project that I've always been saying it's not in there, is put $100,000 away for South Main Street widening to try to start some funding. $75,000 for curb and gutter on Hurt Street. That's not in there. We've got to figure out, do you want these things? Do we not want them? So.
Well, it's my understanding that we were looking at switching insurance companies to,
Correct.
and that
Possibly
There's
$50,000,
some
but the
savings.
coverage was better. And then if we did switch, we would have access to an HR firm,
Correct.
which
We're
would be
waiting on answers, I believe.
included.
Yeah, we're waiting on answers.
But that is a way.
I was there.
That is a way to have HR,
But,
essentially no cost.
but, hold up. Understand what you're saying, I hear what you're saying. But, we have to take a look at this HR. Because I'm gonna tell you, it's not gonna be one of these, we don't need one of these HRs, you gotta go out here and call them every day when you got an issue. Regardless if it's free or not. We need somebody now. And I think Ms. Williams has brought this up ever since she's been on council.
For the last 2 years, I know we
No
have,
action is
spoken of it.
It seems like this gets kicked down the road.
But it's not just, HR is not just for us to call, it's for employees to call if they have a complaint.
Right,
Right.
and
That's the whole
right now,
purpose
the
of it.
employees don't have that.
Right.
Right.
But using a firm through our insurance to help mitigate HR losses is probably a smart idea.
We'll debate it in the budget. We need to get the numbers before us before we really sit here and say. So let's look at what we have in the budget and what we don't have in it. And that's why I told Philip. He said, oh, let me finagle it. I said, no, don't finagle it. That's this council's budget. Let us work it. So you're gonna see us come to you sooner than June and say, hey, here's our balanced budget, because we want input. So.
I think that's a great thing, great compromise.
I think we're gonna get one regardless. I mean, everybody knows we need one. We're gonna get one.
Don, what else you have, Mr. Norvick?
I think that covered police employment.
Move on to building, property, and cemetery.
I think we talked at some length tonight already about the LCCDC building.
I beg your pardon?
I think we talked at some length about the LCCDC building already.
Okay.
Unless you have any questions or additions.
Well, you know, procedure. I think we have several issues that I'd like to get cleared up, and you may correct me and say we don't need to do it. But we have an RFP out there. The town generated an RFP. We need to do away with that, or award someone, or we just can't leave it hanging out here.
Did we issue another one because the other one closed?
Well, no, they're still there. The receiving period is over.
But the one from Spring Hill wasn't presented before the request for proposals was established. Theirs was in February 22nd, and then after theirs was when the RFP requests were put out. So what I'm saying is, you see where I'm going?
No.
Well, I mean, theirs wasn't in the window of RFP receiving. Whereas the other one actually did come in 4 hours before the deadline, 5:30 on that date. I'm not trying to make it hard, I'm just trying to make it real. I mean,
Spring Hill never resubmitted their proposal within the RFP timeline?
I'd have to check to see the dates of their submittals, but
More concerning.
they submitted it.
Well, there was no
we
RFP.
presented it, and then council
They
asked for an
presented,
RFP.
They should have resubmitted that.
Well, and what's even more concerning is the RP didn't have the proper wording in it, so we probably should withdraw it, number one. But number two, I think council needs to figure out whether they want to rent that building for a longer period than 5 years to
What
figure
did
out if a RP is needed in it
What did
at
the
all.
RFP lack, Mr. Page?
Sorry?
What did the RFP lack? You said
I think that was the town attorney said it had some proper ordinance in it. Is that right?
Yeah, the second, well, it's debatable as to whether the second portion of that RFP was correct. Yeah, basically, the first thing you're supposed to do is get bids, which we did. Yeah, but the second thing is the town is supposed to and that portion was not done. It was simply the
Request, oh, yeah, yeah.
request for the.
So I think it's probably not proper, but, you know, is an RFP needed if we're not gonna lease the building over 5 years? I think that's no,
That's
right?
So it's,
So are you looking to execute an agreement with whoever for more than 5 years? And if so, we need an RFP.
In your very short time of having the second proposal in front of you, do you believe that this satisfies 15.2,
so in terms of just the proposal itself and what you're gonna be evaluating, I think you're gonna get into the analysis there. So now it's not a strict donation, right? There is some amount of money being paid. I believe, I think it was $500 a year, is that what it is? Yeah, so,
Which is 7,500 lower than the previous one.
So, right, in comparison, it's obviously drastically lower than the other bid. But there is a mechanism to decide, okay, is there something that the church's proposal is offering that the other proposal does not? Essentially, you have to make a determination as to whether there's a legitimate basis for taking that proposal, because otherwise we have to take the higher bid. So if you're gonna look to the lower bid, it has to be, okay, well, we're taking the lower bid because X, Y, Z, in comparison to the other bid that doesn't happen.
The other was withdrawn.
It was withdrawn.
That's what I'm saying, if that was withdrawn, then what? Huh?
I was unaware of that.
He didn't know.
You're saying that
The other proposal was withdrawn.
okay, well then we're
After they
talking about
read.
a whole different ballgame.
I think what my question really is it more of black and white where if somebody pays $1, then it's no longer considered a donation, it's considered a lease? Or is there, if somebody pays $2, but you put $100,000 in it, is that is it a loophole, or is it just?
Yeah, so it's not black and white. I think if you pay $1, it's clear that it's not a meaningful, it's not a real transaction, right, in that sense.
And I guess the lease amount for what, or the amount of money that would be put specifically into the restoration would determine how much in the gray area you'd be even with the $500
Probably,
proposal?
yeah. I mean, but if you're talking about, so I think this kind of ties into whether we're talking about withdrawing the proposals and resubmitting the RFP. I think you need to do that first to see if you're going to get any more proposals. Okay? Because if there's a 5-year plan to do, if it's a 5-year more lease, okay, because that's the first step we need to do anyway. If there's only one proposal, then frankly there's no question, right? The only question would be is if the proposal was something like we're not gonna, there is no rent being proposed at all, or it's a type of thing where it's $1, because that's a nominal.
Yeah, I guess my question is more of a hypothetical. If we redo the RFP and we only get one proposal out of it, the same proposal.
Right.
My question is, do you believe this proposal is legally acceptable?
From the few minutes I looked at it, I don't see any reason it wouldn't be. But I also, I glanced at it just like you all did, so I want to take a look at it in full.
And can I say something
Ms.
too?
Williams?
I understand you just found out, sir. I think it'd be fair to Spring here. Some of these questions that we asked should have been asked while he was here when it was open discussion. We're talking about the situation now that they're gone, and they might have had some questions.
Right.
So I think we need to go, I guess, building and ground committee, look at it, then come back, because we're talking on air about questions, and they're not here to answer.
Well, I appreciate you wanting to go to the committee, but we're at the council level now. But I agree 100%, and we're in the weeds here, and that's not what I want.
Right.
So,
We've asked everyone to come back on the first, and that's a great point, and forgive me for not thinking of it. What I'm concerned is we have an RFP out there, we have a withdrawal out there, and I wanna mop them up. So can you help me? What do I need to do to mop it up? We're gonna come back.
We can always not accept any proposal.
Okay.
So we need to close that RFP and then reissue a new one.
Okay.
or this can be resubmitted.
And that's the thing, is this proposal wasn't even submitted in response to the RFP, so
No.
that will give the opportunity for the applicant to also resubmit the RFP in scrub
I
form.
just want to be clear. So you are saying $41 a month of rent is sufficient, much more sufficient to suffice a legality of the lease.
I'm saying it's certainly, it's different than a beer
A
donation,
dollar.
yes.
I don't
Okay.
think,
Because at first they wasn't offering any money.
Right.
Right.
I don't think it's fair. I agree with, Councilwoman Williams. I don't think it's fair for us to debate this without the parties here, okay? So, what I wanna do is help me offer council a motion to get rid of this mess and start all over again, okay? I just don't have the skill set tonight. I'm fried.
Yes, sir.
Make a
Okay.
motion to not accept any of the proposals.
Mr. Almond moves to not to accept any proposal. Is there a second?
At
Mr.
this
Nash?
present time. At this present time.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah, I will follow.
Oh, not to accept any of the proposals that were tendered in our past RFP.
Right.
Okay? I have a motion and a second from Mr. Almond and Mr. Nash. Is there any discussion?
That does not include what the gentleman presented tonight.
No. No, I'm talking about the things that you had before you in the past, okay?
Can I go on record and say, I wasn't here when Springer had the first meeting with everyone that came with their proposal. Were they told at that time by RFP? Because when they came the second time, that's when all this RFP came up. So I think we're going back and forth, we're going backwards.
It's not going back, it's policy. If it's over 5 years, we must, as a town locality, submit for RFPs.
I understand that, but were they instructed
Was
that
that
when the
RFP
first
stated
conversation was had? If I'm coming asking for something, you should give me everything I need to know.
I can bet you it won't be
Ms.
more.
Williams, when
But I
they came up and
understand that,
spoke and they tried to give their,
but what I'm saying
presentation.
is-
I talking about the first meeting.
Councilman Nash said,
Wait a minute.
to be fair, we do need to do an RFP to let
think it
other
was.
people. So
Right.
he
I think
did
it
bring that
was.
up in the meeting, and they were told that.
Well,
when they came
I
up
think so
in
too,
their
but I
first
mean,
presentation.
I can go back and look at the tape if you want me to.
No, I heard it that time, but I'm just saying the first conversation when they presented this to the council or to the committee, I don't think it was brought up from the conversation that I'm getting, from the calls that I'm getting. I wasn't there when they first proposed it. That's what I'm saying.
I'll look at the tape.
It wasn't said during their
First proposal.
proposal. It was said after they had done it and sat down, but they were still here. And Mr. Nash did say that he thought it would be a good idea to introduce that RFP.
And I'll be clear about this. I personally have been blasted from what I've heard, saying that the reason I suggested that was racial. 100% false. I can tell you that it's actually very hurtful that I've heard it from several members, that it came from several members of this council. And to be honest, I'm actually, the reason the one that was withdrawn was going to serve the same sector, we shied them away because we kicked the can down the road. And we've got to do better for our citizens. It was the same service. And they stepped out because, to be honest, I felt a little bad for them that night. And I felt bad that I didn't speak up, but I didn't because I had allegations that I was being racial. So I didn't want to muddy the waters in any way.
Can I comment on that?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay. The reason why it was said like that, Eric, was because, okay, first of all, people felt that if you had somebody else, when you hollered for that RFP, you should have said, okay, I got somebody else might be in there.
You want to know who my real person in mind, just because they approached me a month before, was help. They said they needed a building
Well,
to perform a clothes closet.
okay.
So I said, well, look, and I never mentioned to them, I said, they obviously read the paper, they know. If they want it, they can submit a proposal.
Well, I feel like this, you know, what's gonna happen is gonna happen. We cannot sit up here and argue about this.
No, I agree.
So we need to let this thing pass over. We decide what we gonna do and let it go.
We just need to be cautious of the assumptions we make of our fellow council members, is all I'm saying.
And,
Miller,
I
one
get
of them was
that.
from you.
Yeah, no, I tell you, yes,
All of
sir.
them was from you.
Hey, I'm a
You
man.
straight up told everybody
No, I
that
didn't
Nash
tell
was a
everybody.
racial man.
No, I didn't tell
and
everybody.
that is wrong.
I told people that, like Philip and all them. Yes, I did say that. Anything I tell you, Eric, I'm not the red line. Like
All
I
right.
tell you, that's not what I'm
Gentlemen,
here to do, sir. No, sir.
we're way out of scope of Robert's Rules of Order.
Can
And
I
give
call
you-
for the question for refusal?
In just a moment, I
proposals?
give y'all a lot of leeway in discussing. We're not permitted to speak to one another. I let a lot of things, we won't be up here arguing like that. And I'm gonna call for,
As far as I'm
as
concern is,
We're not permitted to speak of one another. How do we debate without speaking to
I'll
one
give
another?
you, I'll, you to adjust the chair. is the way it
I will
is.
say this,
And
and
I will get you, if
Mr.
you
Chairman.
need me to get you the reference that we voted on, I'll be glad to do so, okay? So, Mr. Nash has called for the question, I agree. The motion is from Mr. Almond and seconded by Mr. Nash, is to accept neither of these proposals and end the RFP, is that
I
correct?
believe only one was a legal proposal, but whatever
Okay.
plural or singular.
Reject all.
All proposals prior to today.
All. I ask for,
All.
I ask for a voice vote, all those in favor?
Prior to today.
Well, this one has to be resubmitted anyway.
Yes, indeed, we're
So
talking
all-
about the
That's why we
ones in
say
the past.
prior to today.
I ask for a voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries and that's behind us, okay? Is there anything else, Mr. Harf, that we need to mop up procedurally, or are we good?
No, Mr. Mayor, the next step would be deciding whether you want to reissue an RFP, obviously, and which would trigger only if you want to have a lease for 5 years.
Well, what I'd like to do is I would like for you to look at this proposal and see if you have any legal problems with it. If you do, provide a brief that we can share with the church and with the council, and I'm gonna bring it back up on the first. I don't think we.
Again, I'm gonna sound, I guess I'm gonna throw out the red flag here yet again. Why should we spend any time on a proposal that has not been solicited? If we're gonna submit RFPs, if we're gonna submit from RFPs in the future, we can't go ask our attorney to give us an opinion on this RFP. Let's receive it legitimately. And then I can tell you, first of all, it's not gonna be in this year's budget. We're not gonna have $150,000 to do it in this year's budget. So we really just, let's not create strife. In my opinion, it can't be done this year. That building's gonna sit there in hopes, maybe, Philip said, we may have a wild card and hoping that a developer may want the building next door and maybe we can say, hey, look, fix this building up for something like this. But
Which has been done before.
in my opinion, we don't have the money, so why are we gonna cloudy the water and create more strife
I'm
up
not
here?
trying to do any of that. I'm
No,
trying to do the
no,
will of council.
Correct.
I'm trying to get through this without us getting each other's throats again, okay? So what is it you propose?
That we let it lie.
Okay.
That's good idea.
We let it
All
lie.
right,
That's, yeah.
I disagree.
okay,
I'm sorry.
okay.
Why did we accept this and smile in people's faces that we was gonna look at it if we're gonna let it lie? And they're out there thinking that we're looking at it again, but in reality, we're not. So that's false, perception to me. Because they walked away feeling that they had a chance, and then we're saying let it lie, so we should've just said, we're not doing it.
I think Philip may have some stuff for us in the near future that could help out this situation for that property that we wouldn't have to allocate so much money to.
Okay, Ms. Williams, what would you like to?
What I would like to do, we need to have effective communication. If we are saying that we're gonna let it lie and take it off the table, someone needs to call Pastor Warren and let him know, you presented this to us, but we're not even gonna look at this, we're gonna move forward and do nothing. So they won't have, under false expectation, coming back on May the 1st, thinking that we're looking at this in reality, we're not gonna discuss it.
In all due respect, Mr. Chairman, we did just receive this. We didn't get it in advance like normal. I think we are looking at it. We're looking at it now. The attorney's looking at it. I think that we're talking about we have to find money for grants and stuff to fix that building anyway, as you said. A letter, let them know that at this time that we're not taking any action on the building would probably suffice. I know we told the gentleman we'd look at it on the 1st, but
I would.
funding would be a good thing to look
I have
at
to agree
first.
with Ms. Williams, I understand what you're saying. We're talking about a nominal amount of money for Mr. Harf to give us a legal opinion. When they left here, that's what I promised them on your behalf, that we would look into them. And I understand what you're saying, and I totally understand the budget. I'm well aware of what you're saying, but Ms. Williams is correct. We told those people that we were going
To look at it.
look at this and bring it back up on the 1st. So, Ms. Williams, the council speaks through your motions. If you have a motion that you wanna do, about this, but I would strongly advise us to keep our word to the church and the congregation.
I agree.
So what action would you like to take?
I motion that we take the action to do as we said, that we're gonna look at it and come back May the 1st and then we're gonna get a concrete, answer to them, yes or no, then we can move forward and take it off the table.
And that would include the services of the town attorney.
Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna try to get this straight, because everybody's getting tired, and I'm tired too. But Ms. Williams is moving, to have the attorney look over this for any problems that we might encounter, and that we're giving the church and the council his opinion, and that we have time to digest this information, and we put it on the agenda for the 1st of March. Am I missing anything?
May.
I got a
1st of
second.
May.
I got a secondary motion. I motion that we issue an RFP for proposals for the building before we entertain spending any public funds on attorney to review any proposals.
I'm not gonna repeat that motion. Does council understand his motion? Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second Carol's. If you
Well, we're gonna have to take care of this. We're
Yeah, I
gonna
mean,
take
because
care of
it
this
only makes
secondary
sense, I mean,
motion.
in all fairness to anybody that may want to present a proposal through the request for proposal process. And with money in mind, we would spend money getting it reviewed before we had to, if we had it done before, and the man's got to resubmit it again. Let's just go ahead and put it out there, but people they understand budget-wise, you know, and with Spring Hill, nothing's gonna happen in that building until we can afford to make the building usable. And he was fully understanding that when he made his presentation. He said there's no rush, they just really wanna be a part of the community working.
And Mr. Chairman, or Mayor, sorry, I don't like to say Chairman. It's not that I don't support Spring Hill. I do like the services they provide. I also support Steps, and both were good proposals. We haven't got to the point to make that decision, but during this process, it just wasn't done right. We need to start over, and we shouldn't be spending town attorney money on looking at proposals without giving everybody an opportunity to give those proposals.
So, state your motion. Is there any more discussion? Any more discussion, council? I wanna be sure I'm calling for the right question here. Can you repeat this?
It's
for
RFP for proposals for the building, reissue it with
Okay.
proper ordinance advertised.
All right, it's been moved to order, new RFPs for the building and seconded properly by Mr. Gormas. Is there any other discussion? I sense a split vote here. I'm gonna ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Gormas.
All right.
Stain.
Nay.
That motion carries 4-2-1. Any questions? We're gonna move on. And I will contact you, Pastor. Okay? Is that good, council?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna
contact
I'm gonna contact Pastor Moore. Okay? We're gonna go on to unfinished business now. First item of business is RFI.
It's nothing to report,
Well, I'm tired, and I'm not very good at tired. What am I missing, Madam Clerk?
Insurance.
Oh, yeah, I forget a whole committee, I'm sorry. Manager Normick, will you please bail me out here on the insurance in town?
As you know, we have renewed with our current health insurance carrier. However, workers' comp and liability, we had presentations from both our current carrier Versa and second bidder or second proposal that was received from VACOR, which is a Virginia Association of Counties insurance carrier. I think that the Versa folks said that there were some things that they didn't have correct and that sort of thing, and that the other group had, I don't know how they would know what the other company's bid was, but Carol's been working on making sure both parties have exactly the same, and that whether bids be modified or changed in any form or fashion. And it's our expectation that perhaps at May 1st we can discuss it if you'd like to. If not, it's our expectation that it would be adopted at the May council meeting with a recommendation from staff and potentially the committee as well.
Any questions? Everyone has, both policies are in the council packet, is that correct?
I believe both are, that's correct.
Any questions, council?
I don't recommend reading because it's
A little sleepy, tough stuff.
All right, on to, you good? On to unfinished business. Number one, the Crew Water RFI. Mr. Manager?
Very quickly, Crew Water RFI, I'd like to thank Phil Miskovic for preparing a response. As you know, on March 8th, we submitted our initial response to the state in regards to how water would be provided to their facilities, along cooperatively with the town of Crew. There was a series of follow-up questions. I think you've got a copy of those in the responses, and Phil Miskovic, the town manager and crew, put those together. This is just informational for the most part, but I don't think there was anything horribly committed at that point. It was just basically saying these are different funds of sources of funds, and I think there were some decommissioning questions that were also specific to Crew. But we await a response. I spoke with Phil Miskovic on Friday, and he indicated the next time he had an opportunity, he would try to contact John Markowitz and find out more of a schedule. When's the response? When can we expect something? That sort of thing. So, but we have submitted everything as requested by the state of Virginia.
Mr. Vazorvik has stated his appreciation for the former mayor and now town manager of Crew. Is this council's consensus? Does council appreciate his efforts?
Yes.
I'm gonna write him a letter stating that the council and your appreciation.
Yeah, I think we were concerned at one point about the tenor of some of the, but they were Johnny on the spot. Miskovic was great on this, and really helped.
See to it he receives our appreciation. Anything else on the RFI, Mr. Manager?
No, sir.
Number two is the long-awaited,
West Drive.
222 Forest Drive, and it's very appropriate that, Mr. Gorman he'll lead the, voting tonight. Would you like to expand?
We received bids back. As you know, there's been a set of drawings, a second set of drawings prepared for it that keeps us out of the pipe business for the most part. It still has 104 feet of pipe. We did open bids on April 11th, and we had a cost estimate, I think was $55,000 from B&B Consultants, if I'm not mistaken. And the low bid was $23,944 from Treescapes as a local contractor, and I would recommend, I've worked with Mr. Gunn before, and I would recommend entering into contract with Treescapes in the amount of $23,944.
Members of council, you've heard the manager's request. Is there a motion?
I would love to make the motion for that to move forward.
So noted. Is there a second? Mr. Miller seconds, properly seconds this. Is there any discussion, council?
This is work done on public right of way, correct?
It is on private right away. There may be, I correct that when the bank is laying back, but the improvements, the permanent improvements will all be on the permanent right of way, but I think there's some sloping on a
And it's
bank.
blocking off the water from the other side of the street.
It is blocking the water off from the other side of the street. Yep.
Any more discussion?
On our infrastructure, not on the private side, but on the town side.
Right, I mean, it won't be coming from the other
It
side.
will not be coming from the other side.
I'll ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Gormas.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
This motion carries 6-0. Item number 3 is,
All right, y'all know why we're here.
no,
He doesn't, but the rest of them.
Oh, everybody knows, because you was doing that before my dad's place.
but I'm not taking any comments from the public at this time.
All right,
Now,
I'll get a little.
now, I will have a section that you can speak, but not at this
All
time.
right.
Okay? All right, item number 3 is the VML VACO service agreement.
This is a service agreement where the fees are paid for out of the bond issue, but I think it's time for me to get started at a minimum on the raw water line project. We also have Andre's, one of the capital improvement plan projects. This is Andre's priority, which is the condition of the Forest Drive force main. Sadly, it's a bunch of money, but I would like to begin the process of investigating how to find monies for these two projects. And I'm asking to engage VML VACO finances to assist us with that process.
You've heard the manager's request to enter into a service agreement with VML VACO for the sum of $22,500. Is there a motion?
So,
Mr. Nash moves. May I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Williams, second. Is there any discussion?
if this is awarded and if we do the Crew water deal, this is part of our,
It's part of it.
it would be, but the $22,000 would be included
The bond would pay the $22,000. It's not like you gotta come up with 22 cash immediately. It would be paid for just as a bond counsel services or, that sort of thing would be
So
paid
it's
for.
not coming out of us, it says the
Item
fee
number 3.
level is made possible by a grant from the nonprofit, yada, yada. So that's,
Yeah.
it's not like the 22.5 is coming from the town, it's coming from the grant.
Ultimately, you gotta pay it back. If it's a loan, if we don't get full grant money, if it is a loan, you have to pay it back. But if it can be paid back by grant, then so be it, it would be washed out. But, I don't think there's 100% assurance that we'll receive full grant funding for all this. We anticipate chasing it, we anticipate doing well, but, I can't guarantee you that it won't be paid back as part of the loan.
And you're capping it at 22.5 with a PO in place to track it tightly.
We also have,
There'll be an agreement.
we have 2 rates, $165 an hour for additional services outside the scope of this agreement for a managing director, and then a municipal advisor, his fee is $115 per hour.
And what I would likely do, if we were to change the scope of it, I would get him to put a cap like he has previously. So if we do the Crew Water project and we have to expand by $10-12 million, the borrowing, I would come back to you and revise that so he would put a cap on it. As you know, hourly work can often run over. Okay. But these are the only projects I know that we're probably gonna pursue, during the upcoming year.
Any more discussion? Mr. Nash has moved and Ms. Williams is second to enter into an agreement with VML VACO for financing the projects he's mentioned. Is there any questions? Are you up to speed, Mr. Page?
I am. I know I had to step out. I actually have kind of a family emergency going on, but I did review this before the meeting and everything looked in order to me. So.
Any other discussion? Mr. Gormas, I'll start with you with a roll call, please.
Aye.
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 This motion carries 7-0.
I'm gonna be out for about 20 minutes. Is there any pressing matters that you need me in here for at this time?
I don't know, do we have any more big expenditures?
Not big expenditures, but I do need to get you to approve a couple bids.
20 minutes?
It'll be done in 20 minutes?
I'll be back in 20 minutes.
All right, well, if I don't have 5 votes, then I'll postpone,
All right.
okay?
Thank you.
All right?
I'll be back.
Hydrant testing.
This is something that Dion has put in his report for 2 years, and it is something that is beneficial to the town too. It's just not something that we've had monies to do. I'm not asking to do it in next year's budget. I'm gonna try to attempt to get bids and find out exactly what it may cost, and do we need to break it up into a series of years, that sort of thing. And I'm just asking authorization to seek proposals.
Members of council, you've heard the manager's request. Is there a motion? Mr. Nash moves. May I have a second?
Second.
And I anticipate this will exceed the 10,000, so we'll be back in front of you at some point with proposals. Yeah.
All right. Any other discussion?
It's pretty important. I mean, I did ask about the flow on the truck, 2,000 gallons a minute. The truck holds 300 gallons. So they're gonna need to be hooked into a hydrant to use that 2,000 gallons a minute. Does a hydrant provide that much flow? I don't know. I guess that's.
I don't think we have a hydrant in town that does
can't
2,000. We just did a flow test, and we worked at the fire training ground. And Andre did determine there's over 1,000 gallons, but we're not aware of any 2,000 gallon
that's-
hydrants in town.
But anyway,
That's what the test is for.
very worthy. I don't think.
Or is this seeking bids? Is that right?
Pardon?
Seeking bids?
Seeking proposals, right?
Seeking proposal. Any other discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Item number 5 is a planning grant with DHCD, Manager of Norbic, if you'll report.
We have a very lengthy agreement attached for you, but the gist of it is we have been awarded or approved, based on or pending your approval, a planning grant for the Department of Housing and Community Development for the Tailored Bottom neighborhood. And this will actually finalize what we're gonna do down there. What's the budget? How will it be done? There's also a series of documents, environmental review, all those kinds of things that are obliged. It's pretty standard from previous grants. It is a $60,000 grant, which is more than planning grants typically are, but they have awarded us a $60,000 with no local match. So I'm not asking for any match tonight, and I'd ask authorization for me to execute the agreement.
You've heard the manager's request. Is there a motion? Mr. Miller moves.
Second.
And Ms. Nguyen second. Any discussion? Mr. Miller, you have discussion. Any discussion? Ask for a voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion carries 6-0. Next item on unfinished business is number 6, and that is application for construction funds. Mr. Manager?
Oh, excuse me, I'm in the wrong place. Taylor Bottom Construction Funds. I know this doesn't please anybody, but we do have very, very old water lines in Taylor Bottom. And as part of beginning and creating the basis for the Taylor Bottom neighborhood, we've got to determine what exactly our match can be. And as we did on the east end, we replaced the water and sewer lines. What we're asking you for authority to do is simply submit a construction application in the amount of $2,363,283 for the replacement of all water lines in the Taylor Bottom neighborhood. The water lines are old in Taylor Bottom, as is the sewer. But I think we have a unique opportunity on the water side because of the age of it and the presence of lead goosenecks, and possibly the lead that's in the solder on the copper lines inside the house because of the age of the house. I think kind of a catchword at the federal government level right now is lead, copper, removal of those kinds of things. I think it's actually an initiative that this administration is pressing, and I do think we'll find ourselves competitive for some grant money. In addition, it can provide, if we were to do this, not only grant, but it would act as our match for construction funds. And when I say construction funds, from DHCD, we're talking about housing and likely some drainage improvements like we did on the east end. I haven't figured out the sewer yet, and the sewer is equally old, but I think the health side of it is more important at this time than the sanitary sewer side. And I'm asking authorization to submit that grant. All we're doing is submit it. We could get turned down. We could get approved. We could get a 100% grant. I don't know, but if we don't submit anything, we don't get even considered.
Move to authorize application for the construction funds for Taylor Bottom.
All right, Mr. Nash has moved, and Mr. Miller has second. Is there any discussion? I'm gonna ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Vargas.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
The motion carries 6-0. Item number 7 is Lakeview Cemetery software bid.
This is a project we do have in this current year's budget. We solicited proposals and we received them back prior to last meeting, but I think there was some confusion about exactly who was specifically the low bidder because they were bid differently. Some gave lump sum pricing, some gave per parcel pricing. And after consideration, I do believe Plot Box at $11,411 is the lowest bid. And Ashley and I looked at the software. I think we both like it. It will provide you with an aerial view so you can, or the user can get on the website and we'll be able to find parcels in the cemetery without having to go to any other location, but it will be a town operated and managed website. Right now, there's a pretty good one out there called Find a Grave. But the problem with Find a Grave, it doesn't tell you where the grave is. It says Block K, and that's all it says. And so you got to figure out where Block K is and then walk around. This will actually pinpoint you where you can drop a pin exactly on that particular grave, and it'll have all the information. I am requesting, it is in the budget. I do have the cash set aside for $11,400. I'm asking authorization to enter an agreement with Plot Box in the amount of $11,411, and they did agree to do over a series of years, so we didn't have to have all the money up front, but I do have the cash to pay for it up front.
Council, what's your pleasure? Mr. Miller moves to accept this bid in the amount of $11,400. May I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Williams, second. Is there any discussion?
Do we have anything doing this now?
It's a book.
And so the value added is,
People can find them themselves. Right now, they pretty much have to call me and say, where is Grandma located? And either I have to physically show them where it's at, because there's nothing visual right now. There's a really good private website called Find a Grave, and it's pretty up to date, but it doesn't tell you where the particular grave is. It may tell you a block or it may tell you a section, but it doesn't give you the location. And right now, we're using the original 1936 binders. If you guys have seen that stuff, it's pretty old, and I'd like to get away from using those old documents and use something a little more sophisticated. So that cemetery's paying for it 100%. They do, yeah, they have the cash on hand. That's where the cash is coming from, cemetery operating account that we have. And not perpetual care, but the cemetery operating. Pardon? Well, if we pay the all $11,400 up front, then the only thing is, I think, a $2,400 annual maintenance fee, and you've got enough to do that. between the
Councilman-
sales of plots and what's existing in the operating fund.
Excuse me, Mr. Norbert. Council, do you have any other questions or comments? I ask for a roll call vote. The motion is to, I'm sorry, forgive me. The motion is made by Mr. Miller and seconded by Ms. Williams, is to accept this proposal of $11,400 from Plot Box. I ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Cormus.
Aye.
Aye.
This motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Unfinished business number 8, Community Development Specialist Bryant is seeking guidance on live streaming the Memorial Day service on the town's Facebook.
And we're just asking permission to make sure that's okay with you guys. And I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Normally they have the service out at Lakeview, and they wanted to try to get more people involved in it. So they wanted to know if we could stream it live on the Facebook page, if possible, for those that can't attend but would like to see the ceremony.
We're just asking for permission to do so.
I'm sorry, I gotta have things on record. I'll talk to you about it later. I'm gonna ask council for a motion to approve, Ms. Bryant's, seeking live streaming on the Memorial Day service on our Facebook. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Mr. Cormus moves, may I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller seconds, is there any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Item number 9, I asked this to be on here. Manager and I have been talking about with the addition of Mr. Harf that is in Roanoke. I enjoy you here, sir, but I don't want to see you every month. So you're another taxpayer, but you're well worth your fee, and so far I'm greatly impressed with your services. So can we have a discussion about what do we need to do so that
I don't think it's any problem to live stream. I think the issue is more the microphone
Yes.
issue and the audio. So,
you can't hear a thing?
so we will have the audio ready. Hopefully by the next council meeting, we will be, not the 1st of May, I'm sure, but Jennifer and I had talked briefly about it, and we will proceed on. We have some cash available. I think the cost estimated, Jennifer, was like $12,000.
Yeah, but it was like a year and a half ago, so I
so-
gotta get close to it.
So if it's still the wishes of the council to do that sort of thing, but it's an additional about 12, and I've held off doing it.
Pay him just to be here for 12 grand.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
We talking about a budget, man.
I don't, it was not.
And we spending all this money tonight. Come on now, let's be real here, man.
It needs to be done, I agree, but
I think there's still $12,000 in your discretionary budget.
we haven't expended some of that, that hasn't paid out as Bruce said.
Do you need a motion, council, to do this?
It's over $10,000. My expectation will be over $10,000, and
But you don't have bids yet, or you do?
I do not have bids yet.
Okay, so you gonna take this up on the
I
first?
think it likely it'll be the Code Blue
Okay.
folks to help us. And Jennifer, didn't you have who was it that helped you?
Aaron, Brain with American Federal.
American Federal.
He's the one
Thank you.
that's installed all of this.
Then I take the Code Blue out of it. It'd be American Federal that we'll try to work with and
And they
get
provided
it
the
done.
last bid a year and a half ago, so I just wanna get newer bids
There
and
you
see if anything's changed.
Okay, so you don't need any action, council, tonight?
I'll bring it back to you, and it'll be likely over $10,000.
All right, item number 10, we have our esteemed attorney with us, Mr. Harf, and he has submitted a legal memorandum concerning the Benell ditch, and I would like him to give us, touch on the high points, and ask if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to talk to the attorney about.
Enjoy.
Appreciate
Spit on the microphone.
All right, so, and let me start off by saying, really appreciate being here. Really excited to work with you all, and you know, we've already hit the ground running and have enjoyed it so far. So
Never a dull moment.
that's right, but that's how it is at every locality. So I really appreciate being with you all and look forward to our work together. Yeah, so the town manager asked me to look into this drainage issue at the Benell property. As I understand it, there is some overflow occurring at their property to some degree, and basically the question was asked of me as to whether we have to, are we legally obligated to go in ourselves as the town and do repairs to that property. Short answer is no. Based on the information I have, you'll see in the memo that I wrote that that's subject to change if there is some information I don't have. For example, if for some reason there's an easement out there that I don't know about, if the town does have an easement in that area that we're talking about, which is that ditch, then the town would be required to maintain it. So if that ditch is what's causing this overflow and the town has an easement in that ditch, then the analysis changes. The other potential change is if you're talking about a situation where the town specifically went in and erected this ditch for stormwater overflow purposes. So the town said, look, this is an area that we can use to support our drainage system in the town. We're going to go in and create this ditch, and that's going to be our man-made overflow area in that property, on that property. That could potentially make it so we would be obligated to do some repairs in that area. The reason we don't have to do that is if under the information I have now is that essentially what you're looking at when you're talking about does the town have to go on private property and do repair work, is whether there's an inverse condemnation issue. Okay, so when you're talking, and this gets back to a general concept of eminent domain. So when we think of eminent domain, it's the town is taking private property for a public purpose. Well, there's something called reverse condemnation or inverse condemnation, and that's if the town does something without going through the condemnation process that in effect takes somebody's property. And so that's what you're getting into when you talk about town-created issues on private land. So if it was found that the town did create this ditch and that ditch has caused, the way it was erected by the town had caused damage to this person's property, then you get into a potential inverse condemnation issue where the town obviously did not, pay the landowner to do that to its property, and if it is actually causing damage to the extent that it's taking away some of the landowner's rights, that's where you get into a potential issue where you'd have to go in there and do something about it. That's not the information I have. The information I have is, frankly, this is private property. Whether or not it's a ditch that actually does provide some overflow, it's not legally, it's not the town's responsibility because the town does not have an easement. The town did not erect the ditch. This is private property. It's private landowner's responsibility. So that, in a nutshell, is what I got. I'm happy to answer any questions. Hopefully, that was a full summary there. I kind of skipped over the facts there, but if you need any more facts, I'm happy to give them.
When it comes to maintaining ditches,
Yeah.
to what extent is that? There's a beer can in the ditch versus grass in the ditch versus major construction in the ditch?
That's a good question. So generally, it's maintaining it in the same, I guess, manner it was when it was erected. So if you're talking, you're usually talking about things like general maintenance. I mean, if there's a beer can in the ditch, that's really not what you're talking about. Certainly, when you're talking about a type of defect where it would be causing some type of issue, then it certainly would have that would trigger our response. But generally, the idea is you have to maintain it in its proper form, essentially. What it was there when it started, that's how it needs to be maintained.
Mr. Page?
So, I actually have a few questions. So I think the story goes that in the 70s, 80s, maybe early 90s, the town maintained these ditches. They went there and cleared them out, cleared out brush, kind of dug them out a little bit. We got into our stormwater system, started directing more water to them. Are those some adverse actions that you're talking about? And even though we're not doing them now, maybe it was done in the past. We used to have our own machines that went in and cleaned these ditches out. We don't have the equipment anymore. Is this one of those situations where something in the past can come back to bite us?
So I think what you're talking about is a prescriptive easement, essentially. So there's something in Virginia law that basically says if a party was doing something on land for 20 years, okay, continuously, and they were essentially acting like it was their property for that amount of time, that could form what's called a prescriptive easement, which essentially would mean that property, even though there is no formal easement, there's an implied easement that property would transfer to the town. It would be the town's responsibility to maintain it. But because there's been such a break, you know, the town manager told me about the 60s and 70s work that the town was doing.
Probably
It has to be
later than that.
continuous use. Okay, so once you have that type of amount of time where it's no longer in use, the chain would break, and so there would be no use.
The ditch is partially on my property.
Yes, sir.
Moved there in 1999, and the town cleaned it out one time with summer help. It hasn't been an occurring issue.
Right, and that's what it would have to be. It has to be continuous. Essentially, the person doing, you know, the entity or person that's actually doing that repair work would have to be saying, you know, I think this is my property. I am doing this to repair this on a continuous basis, and have no break in that chain.
And I appreciate your leeway with a few more questions, if you don't mind. We did some improvements over there where we put in a drop inlet and directed more water from the neighborhood to that ditch. I think that's what she's saying. It's caused some more flooding, erosion, not only in the street, but, you know, through the ditch as well. Does that action of putting that drop inlet in there and directing more stormwater there than it's natural, does that at all obviously come back to bite us? And the second question is, a few blocks away, we have ditches that are clogged up and blocking the road during heavy rainfalls, flooding the road. Are we required under our VDOT contract to make sure the road is free and maintained and passable? You know, meaning if there's a problem, VDOT on their website says they have a natural easement to go in and clean ditches that are blocking the road. Does that transfer to us, being that we're paid to provide the same service?
Yeah, so those are good questions. The first question, I think, is it would alter the analysis. If you have a situation where the town has done some work that you can link back to the town as causing flooding, overflow that was not present before then, that could be an issue. Yeah,
I
because
ask
then,
these not to find liability. I ask them so that when we do things in the future, we can plan.
Sure.
You know, about how much water flow is going to go over there, and is it going to cause erosion or some type of damage? Yeah.
This was done 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Regardless of where, I mean, that drop inlet's at the low point in the street, and it's going to go to that creek, whether there was a drop inlet there or not.
It always went there in an open ditch.
Yeah.
All we did was add the curbing, and it goes in the same pipe. That water always got there when they get there faster, but it was always gone in the same spot. Prior to the construction.
So,
Should we be in closed session for this?
well, there's your.
That's a good question.
attorney.
Yeah, I mean, so this was something I actually talked to the town manager about today. My general thought on this is, you know, if I'm talking about legal advice that we should be in closed session, since it was in the packet, you know, I figured it's public knowledge now, so you know, there's no point in.
How
in
would
that,
you
but-
like to proceed?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I would suggest to the council that if we are going to talk about new potential developments here, and really any time I'm reporting on legal advice in the future, it would be, I mean, my standard practice is to urge council to go into closed session, only because, you know, this is otherwise privileged. I mean, if you all want this to be confidential information, it is. I mean, it's you know, this is part and parcel attorney-client privilege information.
Well, you're here tonight, and I do have a closed session. I'll add it to it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
We can
All right,
we can
move
handle
forward.
that VDOT question in there.
Well, I
then.
think manager's well versed at the VDOT contract. I mean, are you familiar with our contract?
I am not familiar with the contract.
So, you know, he can answer your question. Mr. Manager, would you answer Mr. Page's question about VDOT?
I can look it up.
Okay.
And I can do that too.
Or what contractual arrangement is there? Gosh, we don't renew it every year, so I assume it's the original arrangement between the town and VDOT, so it could be many, many years old.
I mean, the question is whose responsibility is to maintain the ditch. I mean, you know, I think that's what we have to figure
I
out.
think it's clear that it's the town's responsibility to maintain that which is in the right of way that we're paid to maintain. That which goes off on the private property or traverses private property, I guess that's the question, but I can definitively say if it's between the ditch bank, I think we have an obligation on public right of way.
Well, part of what you said too was that, you know, if the ditch was erected by the town specifically for runoff, that would change your stand a little bit up. You know?
Yeah, if we're going to go into closed session, though, we can continue.
Yep, let's move right along then.
Thank you, Mr. Alman. I appreciate that.
So, are we on, ongoing projects now?
Yes, sir.
Do you have anything in that package that can't wait until, the first?
Hang on a second. Let me see what I got left here.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah, vertiport painting.
Yep,
I do need to get that
absolutely.
done.
I forgot about that. What item is that?
Vertiport painting is new business number 2. We have those 2 separate business.
Tony,
We have people in the audience.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Chastity, do you need your RFPs?
Before we go any further, I'd like to apologize to the council. It was an error on my part to bring this up in public. And please, in the future, this is a part-time gig for me. I do put a lot of time in it, but always feel appreciation of me for you correcting me, okay? Please speak up, all right? I'd rather get it right than be right, okay? Thank you. All right, you wanna just go through them, or what do you wanna do?
I can go pretty quick.
Okay.
And if we're going on to, are we in new business? Hang on a second. Huh?
Doing ongoing number 1, which is,
Dilapidated buildings, nothing really to report. Meals tax, I think the report is included for your consideration. Street improvements, nothing to report. Wrigglesworth, we're working on the concession stand. Once we get closer to the finalization of construction, it'll tell me how much money we have to work on to buy the scoreboard, and then we'll be working armory. Moving along, change orders have slowed dramatically because I'm not approving them, and I think that may be part of it. But the roofing work should be ongoing. We went there today, Chastity and I, and they had started putting some of the metal roof on the building. Weatherization, nothing to report. Workforce housing,
yeah, we need to look at number 5.
okay, moving on. My bad.
Oh, I'm rushing.
Going quick. RFPs, see attached for RFPs for grant management assistance and housing rehab specialist. I didn't know if this is absolutely a necessity to have done tonight, but I think Chastity's here to make sure. I got to admit, I don't understand what copies for council only mean when they open the bids. And obviously, we want to work with the same housing rehab specialist and the grant management specialist at Southside Outreach. I don't think it's any secret. Southside Outreach worked with us on all these. We did advertise. We followed procurement. They provided responses to our proposals, and we would like to engage Southside Outreach. Their fees are 100% paid for with grant funds in the planning grant, and that's part of that $60,000 that you guys had approved previously. But we are obligated to follow procurement, and we've done so. And Chastity advertised for 2 activities, and we received 1 proposal back for each one. Earl Howardin with the housing rehab specialist, and Southside Outreach is really Earlene Powell that'll help us with the grant management.
Yeah.
We're talking about 2 different positions.
They are for public, and I don't think I can present to you and ask you to formally adopt something if it says copies for council only. That's
We'll bring this back. on
unacceptable.
first.
So we're going to wait until the 1st of May to bring
Okay.
it back to you.
Very good.
Okay.
Moving along, number 6, the armory.
We'll get there.
That nice letter I received, number
About?
6.
On number 6,
The armory, a letter from DHCD about your 247,000.
we're used to those. That's just no big
I'm
news
not
now.
used to it. I like it.
Frogs always got the tooth their own hole.
And if you guys remember, that 247 was the same amount we applied to USDA for. This is just informational because we got to wait for the agreement to come, but that $247,000 replaces the USDA money that was taken out of the project because we didn't follow. They wanted us to use historic resources standards on the windows and the roof and the rest of the renovation. So this does replace it. It still leaves us a little short, and we are continuing to work on additional projects, but that is informational for you.
Okay. Weatherization or workforce housing or roundabout you.
I need workforce housing. Chastity has, or excuse me, there is, oh, that's under new business number 3, excuse me. Nothing under that workforce housing, but we do have something under new business number 3 that we'll get to. Roundabout, nothing to report. Hopefully we'll have the easement documents. I do have the drawings for the water lines, and hopefully we can get that wrapped up in the next month or so. Wrigglesworth field use.
Yeah, it's a very benign request. Members of council, the primary schools are requesting the use of one of the fields at Rigglesworth for some of their school activities. May I have a motion to approve? Mr. Allman moves and Mr. Miller second. Is there any discussion?
I would hope that requests like this don't always need to come before us, to be honest.
I was about to say the same thing, especially from the school district.
I would have
Let's
approved it
dispatch
out
of that.
out of
Let's
hand.
dispatch of that, and I think you're absolutely right. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. So, Mr. Nash, would you like to grant this kind of request to the manager? Okay. Would you make a motion for that?
I don't think you need a motion.
Yeah, I'm fine to do it. I mean, I
Why is
don't have
it
a
in the
problem.
package?
Huh?
Why is it in the package?
Because I have the impression that you guys would like to see these kinds of things, and I don't want to differentiate and forget one and put it in there, not in there.
No harm
So, if you guys say approve these things, then ain't no problem.
It could probably go under informational, you know,
That's fine.
when we see.
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
We're grasping the straws here. Let's go ahead with number 2.
Vertiport.
Vertiport time.
Vertiport is a horizontal, a vertical landing surface. Vertiport should be vertical. Is a vertical landing for UAVs. Jake probably knows more about it than I'll ever know. But the state has agreed to provide us with maintenance monies to actually do the sealing and painting. There is a design also included. It's pretty benign. We're gonna crack seal it. We're gonna parking lot seal with coal tar, and then there's literally a square perimeter painted, and then a diagram in the middle, and I think a couple other things. Because I wasn't 100% sure, and looking at the bids, we've got a pretty wide array of bids, but Warner Seal Coating locally, gave them a copy of the specifications. I gave them the REMAC and Hasco, who were recommended to me by the State Department of Aviation, and I wanted to get enough pricing. Put it out there, low bidder, Warner Seal Coating, $3,850, and he feels good about it. I cannot formally say that we will accept this because it is a bit contingent on John Hart's approval of the funds for maintenance money to pay for it.
Move that he accept the Warner Seal Coating bid for Vertiport with a condition that the Department of Aviation approves as well.
Is there a second? All right, so Mr. Allman has moved, and we're under the threshold. Mr. Nash has properly seconded. I ask for a voice vote. All those in favor, do you have a question?
Yeah, there's a substantial difference between bids. Reputable company?
It's Greg Warner. He's from here.
He's done a lot of work for us.
Local. He does work for the town. I can't say I've ever used him at the airport, but we gave him a specific specification given to us by the Department of Aviation, and he actually had his paint supplier send me a spec and ask for approval, basically a shop drawing, and Talbot and Bright approved the spec. So,
Okay, sounds good.
and I know Greg will do okay. I mean, he's done
Any
parking
other
lots for us.
Discussion or questions? Ask for a voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Item number 3 is your workforce housing, which you alluded to earlier.
As you know, the town has received previously $405,000 from the Commonwealth Regional Council for Workforce Housing. 3 homes have either been completed or under construction. May 1st, have all 3? Okay. So we're moving forward. They did have funds available that were not claimed by any other organization in the amount of $225,357. They have solicited proposals again from localities. We were excluded from the first round of that because we had already received. We were the only locality in Southside Virginia that received any money, along with a group in Cambridge, which was a private. And Habitat for Humanity got a large chunk of money. They put it back out to the localities that didn't receive anything. None of them applied. They have put it out yet again for anybody who would be interested, and I think that means us. And we submitted it by the deadline, and we are asking that you authorize the application of an application in the amount of $225,357. There is a $110,000 match, but I'm not asking you for any local money. That match will come from the revolving fund from the 3 houses that have already been built. Okay? As houses are built and Virginia Housing closes on them, we actually get paid back for the construction. Okay? The only part that comes out of the grant permanently are buying the lot, Erlene's time, those kinds of things do whittle the amount of the grant down. So there is it's local money, but it's not local tax dollars. or resources. And that 110 comes out of the original $405,000.
Reading the document here, it says up to 95,000 per unit, but we've been paying 110.
And so we're going to have to match to get that up. I mean, it may be 120 by the time we bid these things out. That'll come out of that $110,000.
Yeah, I'll move to grant the town manager permission to apply for the grant in the amount of $225,357, retroactively as of April 8th, and authorize the matching funds.
Do you wanna ratify it, or?
That's
Yeah,
what
I guess the proper term, ratified, or as Chris stated, is fine with me. We just, again, we're not spending money, we're just submitting the paperwork. And the deadline was April 8th before the next council meeting.
However, yeah, so moved. There you go. I thought the first one
Nice
covered it
motion,
well. but okay.
So Mr. Page has moved to ratify the previously submittal of this application. And Mr. Page has moved, Mr. Nash is second. Is there any discussion? Mr. Gorman, will you lead the roll call vote, please?
Aye.
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 This motion carries 7-0. Number 4 is,
Can I
yes,
ask a question? Those sheds, is the Boy Scouts still working on them or what?
Right on. We built all the sheds we had money for, and we did 5 or 6, 5, and we gave out 5 sheds to property owners in our weatherization and workforce housing program. Actually, the East End, not even the workforce housing in the East End. We gave out 5. We gave one to, I mean, we can make a list for you, but there's one certainly on Harris Street. There's one certainly on Broad Street.
Two on Broad Street.
She can get you a list for them.
I'll get
She'll get you a list.
You don't need no,
Yeah. But the money's expired at this point. We've purchased them as part of the East End project that we've expired. Subdivision request Farmington, Mr. Mayor?
yes, sir.
Jeff is here to discuss any of the particulars about it, but what we have received is a subdivision request for a 26 lot subdivision to be located, I guess I can't remember the name of the original owner, but it was Rigby Land Company, and it's currently owned by Rock River Homes. It's the 3rd phase of the Farmington subdivision. The first phase was all fronting on College. The second phase, if you remember, was on Rolling Acres Lane, if I'm not mistaken. And then this is the 3rd section. This subdivision, yeah, it's compliant. I mean, the lots are of appropriate size and they are of appropriate frontage, and Jeff did the design work, and B&B has worked with them to refine quite a bit of that. They did lose a couple lots after B&B got involved looking at water and sewer. It's a 26 lot subdivision. We're here tonight in response to our subdivision ordinances. Town council needs to vote on these. Planning commission did consider it. I think they, including the folks that live on College Road, there's 2 planning commissioners that live on College Road. It is a 26 lot subdivision. Yes, College Road is inadequate, but we're not rezoning tonight. We're not looking at those kinds of things. It is purely, is this inadequate? It's already zoned. Everything other than our subdivision ordinance requires.
This is the lawful use of the property.
Lawful use of the property.
Most council, is there a motion to approve this subdivision located at the terminus of College Road?
And I will add to you, there's a lot of work to be done. They've got water and sewer designs and plans that have to be submitted, bonds. There's a tremendous amount of effort and work and some easements for utilities that still need to be drawn and included. And I got to get Andre. It's not on our electric system, so we're really the water and sewer provider on this one. But there's a lot of work to be done. But I don't think anybody is crazy about that much more traffic on College Road. I think it's all universally understood that that's the deal. I'm not sure I have a great recommendation to tell you you can be turned down for this purpose or that purpose. College Road may need some expansion or widening at some point. There's no doubt in my mind. But because we're not doing it as a conditional rezoning, we're not changing the designation of the property, I don't know of a specific vehicle to say, now, we're not going to do it because of this. So,
Yeah.
you have subdivision ordinance that says it. That's the only reason.
So it's the right to use with approval. So it's the right to use with approval of the planning commission and of the council. So it's not a total right to go ahead and build a subdivision. You gotta have approval, right?
Yeah, but I don't think approval should be arbitrary or denial should be arbitrary.
I don't think it's arbitrary. I think it's a legitimate concern that road is the narrowest road in town with heavy traffic, and the school bus won't even go back there because they got stuck there back in that area in 2017, where all these kids gonna be picked up. And the road is dangerous, and you're doubling the amount of homes on that road.
Yeah,
Well, I understand that, but
I
you
appreciate your
still gotta get
comments,
back there.
But I need a motion and a second to continue the discussion. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Gormus moves, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Nash seconds, now we have discussion, Mr. Page.
I just, you're talking about adding an average of 102 people to that area, doubling the amount of homes, doubling the amount of traffic on a road that's already busy. It's only one way in and one way out. It's very dangerous. I think it's a legitimate reason to go back to the developer and try to negotiate something about that road. You can even see how narrow that road is in their drawing.
Any other discussion, council?
I do have a secondary motion. I motion that we postpone this until the next meeting while we negotiate with the developer and try to figure out a solution to the road.
Is there a second?
Can I interject for just a second?
Absolutely, always.
This is not a rezoning, it's not a conditional use permit request. These types of, it's a subdivision ordinance, as I understand, this is a subdivision plat approval request. We really don't have wiggle room there, as long as it is conforming with our subdivision ordinance. If we deny it, for any reason, you're running a risk of an issue. Just my 2 cents.
And please, give me a quarter every chance you get, okay? That's what you're here for. All right?
Plenty of work for you.
Now, the one thing I will say is, I'm not sure if it sounded like there might be some work to be done on the plat itself. Is it?
I think there's some easements to be shown really on the plat. I think that still needs to be done.
Way early. We're way early in this design.
Yeah, I think that the subdivision.
Are we talking from the audience? I thought we weren't doing that.
And some easements for the utilities.
I'm just saying, if we're gonna say it at the beginning of the meeting, we just gotta be
Okay.
honest.
All right. Your point's made. I can't think of so quick a time. All right, any other discussion on, do I have a second from Mr. Page's?
And I didn't make a motion to deny, I made a motion to postpone.
All right.
A vote to approve this right now is essentially a vote.
Can I dispense with this motion,
Go ahead.
please, sir? Mr. Page has moved to postpone this until the contractor can be conferred with about possibly negotiating maybe some work on College Road. Is that correct?
That's
Is
right.
there a second to this substitute motion? Hearing none, that motion fails. The motion on the floor is from Mr. Gormas and from Mr. Nash to approve the subdivision that has been presented on College, at the end of College Road. Any more discussion on that?
I've got a little bit, and I'm not saying that that this is swaying, I'm just procedurally, I'm stuck at why we approved it if it's,
No.
doesn't Amelia decline them all the time?
Amelia? The difference between Amelia and Blackstone is Amelia requires a conditional rezoning for all subdivisions. They require it because they collect a cash proffer and they have a proffer system. This is not a conditional rezoning. In Amelia, even if you're doing a 3-acre subdivision in a 3-acre district, you still have to rezone it from rural residential to residential. And the reason that was set up by McGuire Woods and those guys back 25 years ago when I was over there, the reason it was set up is the intention was we were adjoining a high-growth county, and we wanted to begin to collect proffers for school construction, fire station construction, and the only way we could collect that proffer was in exchange for a rezoning. That's not the case here. We don't rezone subdivisions.
Obviously, there's bonds that they have put for
Oh, yeah, for roads and water and sewer, absolutely. And that's clearly stated in the subdivision ordinance.
You've had one chance. Does anybody else want to speak on this? Mr. Page, you have a second chance.
So the BZA just approved a project that did confer with the ordinance as well, and they denied that. And I think that's one of the reasons we had the new zoning thing up there.
That we adopted tonight, yes.
And I understand that. We don't want to take use away from the man's property, but there's a legitimate concern of public safety. in this
I'll let
matter.
Mr. Hartford and you have that discussion. We talked about it earlier today, and if we were doing the rezoning like we do in Amelia, and they do get turned down. The first one we ever did in Amelia County was Redfield subdivision, and it was 90 lots up on Chula Road. And man, the planning commission came back and turned it down. Holy smokes, they had done everything. And the board of supervisors turned around and approved it because they recognized they didn't have a justification for saying no. But the board of supervisors and planning commission have to review those and vote on them in some form or fashion. A recommendation has to be presented because of the conditional rezoning that's done in Amelia County.
Well, surely though, somebody couldn't go to the general business district and build something that the infrastructure couldn't handle, and just build it, you know, you say there has to be a justifiable reason to turn it down, or you're saying no reason at all? It's gotta be no.
As long it's the equivalent of a by right use, right? So if someone applies for a zoning permit, that's allowed in the zoning district, and it conforms to the zoning ordinance. It doesn't go to the planning commission, doesn't go to the council because it's a by right use. When you're talking about rezoning or conditional zoning, that's when you have to make a determination as to whether there's a legitimate basis to deny. But here, because it conforms with the subdivision ordinance, in my experience, there is no basis to deny it because it's essentially the equivalent of a by right use. So as long as they conform with standards in the ordinance, there's no basis.
Gotcha. Just so you know, the developer gets to make millions of dollars, and we get to spend millions to fix the road.
I'm gonna call for the question. Mr. Gormas has moved, and Mr. Nash is second, to approve the subdivision plat for a 26-lot subdivision to be located at the terminus of College Road. I asked Mr. Gormas if you'll start us a roll call vote.
Aye. No.
Aye.
This motion carries 6-1. You have another subdivision on Maven Avenue, Mr. Manager?
A very similar situation. This is a 4-lot subdivision that is located on Maben Avenue. There's no new roads or no water or sewer improvements that need to be made. You can see where the subdivision is adding Lot 1, Lot 2, Lot 3, and Lot 4. Each are 80 foot wide at the building lot line, and that would be the requirement in that particular lot. It would have to be no less than 10,000 square feet. Depending on the use, if they wanted to put the duplex, which they're proposing, each of those lots would have to be a minimum of 14,000 square feet, and I believe each of those are. Again, we got a situation where 4 lots are being cut off. They are leaving themselves a 50-foot access or a 50-foot strip in the event there was ever a public street built in there in the future. But they're requesting 4-lot subdivision to be improved, and I think they're proposing 4 duplexes, so 8 total units. That is on the town's electric and is on the town's water.
You've heard the manager's request. What's the council's pleasure?
Oh, and to note, they're gonna look very much, the same builder and developer that are building the ones on Church Street now in Ms. Williams' district.
A motion to approve this subdivision request.
Mr. Page moves. Is there a second? Mr. Allman seconds. Is there any other discussion? Mr. Gormas, you're up again. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 That motion carries 6-0-1. Mr. Manager, do you wanna talk about the capital improvement plan? We'll do that on the first. Please, please.
I'll have it for you on the first if you have questions.
I did have another item, I asked about earlier this week, and I got a very rapid response, and I'm grateful. I was talking about the audio-video recording of the utility counter. We haven't had audio, and I received a very nice email from our master clerk today indicating that the audio and video were now working properly in the lobby. Is that where Carol is? Both the lobby and the counter? Okay, so just at the utility counter.
So behind the counter and in the lobby.
Got you, okay? That's just informational. I was gonna ask for some clarity, and I got it before the meeting, so thank y'all. I do have one referral tonight, and that is to Mr. Allman and his Health and Ordinance Committee. to take up utility billing, utility software, and food trucks. Is there any other referrals, Mr. Manager?
I would like, I've got a jam up on Route 46 on some drainage.
Okay.
And, it looks like the obstruction sadly is on private property. And so we told the developer we can't enter the private property to do it, not on his property, but on the Food Line Shopping Center property.
This for
And,
Chairman Miller?
Huh?
Chairman Miller, Street and Light?
Take us through the light.
I'm gonna refer this issue to Mr. Chairman here, and, any other referrals? All right, Mayor's Minute, I'm gonna try to be brief. I have two items. The first item is, I'm formally asking the Finance Committee to consider raising the junior and senior firemen's Christmas bonus. Mr. Page had brought this up early in our term, and I support this. I don't think it's been given in a long time, and it's a paltry sum. I know we got a lot to do, but I think I would like to see us, maybe double this, but I'll leave that to the committee. The second item is Connie Irby, who donated the trees downtown. She's a certified arborist, and she has connections with U.S. Forest Service and the Department of Inland Game and Fishery, I believe. But she has met with DBI officials about the planted trees in our sidewalk in the downtown district. She has pledged her assistance. She's already met once. She will be here on the weekends, and she believes that there are ample grants available for a project of replacing these trees. She said it's very much in the scope of successful grant applications that she has given, and she also commented that she was the donor of these trees, and she fully supports removing these trees and properly planting the correct species. So this was something that I brought up. Just want to give you all an update. We have an expert on the scene and has already done some checking. I think there's going to be some great grants, and we'll hear from DBI at a later date.
So just to clarify, we have an arborist who gave us the wrong trees, who's
No.
now.
No,
She gave us the right trees.
she gave us the right trees, and the town improperly planted them. The box.
We went against her
Sorry.
recommendation for the size of
Right.
the tree, and planted the trees
I wasn't here, I don't
No,
know.
you weren't. You don't need, and you know.
Which we could
it's
fix and,
done.
and keep the trees we got, right?
No.
I think
No.
her expert recommendation was no, that was not possible the way the rules are.
Gotcha. Okay.
All
Thank
right,
you.
members of council, you have before you in your package the police chief's report. Does anyone have any questions for Chief Murphy?
He's making the stops. I see 300 and some odd traffic stops.
Anything else? You have anything for us? Thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the second opportunity for citizens to speak to the council. Would anyone care to come up?
It's a long wait.
State your name and record.
Ray Alms.
And address for the record, please.
I live on Mill Road. I live in the county, but my dad lives at 107, 109 Dillard Street.
Thank you.
For the last 20-plus years, we've been dealing with ditch problems. And with this man being here today, give us a lot of good information. That broke it.
Tear that up and we'll see you
Yeah,
do.
well, I can't see everything. All of North Main Street water that comes from the Main Street, Broad Street, Harris, anywhere around the Bevels, comes through my dad's backyard. We have tried for 20-plus years, because you were on the council the last time. So,
With Eric, with Mr. Nash.
yeah. So, y'all are fixing all these other ditches. Y'all took a bid on one and approved it tonight to get fixed. When I was a kid, well, I say 20 years ago when we first come across this problem, the town come in and rerouted the ditch to a spot and stopped. Since then, the town or the owners of the properties across the way have closed the ditch in, put more drop inlets in. All the water from that side of town goes through my dad's backyard. I could step across the ditch 20 years ago. It's 25 foot wide and 20 foot deep and 100 foot long on our property. And it's all directly from the town of Blackstone's water.
Where's this at again?
Dillard Street.
This approved
Yeah.
in 2020.
past council, we have it in the paper. We can give you the date of the
No,
paper
I've seen the motion.
that the town was going to have it fixed, and it hasn't been fixed. We cannot use a third of our property because of the ditch that is town. We can call them the EPA, all of them DEQ, because all of the chemicals that come off of Main Street run through our backyard. We have talked to everybody. It seems like everybody else's ditches are more important. I know some of you stance on it, you're not gonna go on private property to do this. But it's not our water. It is not our fault that y'all's water, y'all relocated the ditch, y'all have cleaned the ditch. This man said if y'all done it, and they hadn't done it in 20 years, but we've been here every 2 or 3 years for the last 20 to get this ditch fixed. 20 years ago, it probably cost you $30,000 to fix it. Now, he's telling us it's $100,000. So if you wait another 5 years, it's gonna be $125,000. Y'all keep kicking this can, y'all talk about down the road. But y'all's property ain't affected by it. We cannot use, so if I say y'all gonna knock off a third of our taxes because we can't use our property because of your ditch, or y'all gonna knock off our taxes? You use a third of your yard. We go in there and dig a line right down the middle of your yard. You can't use your yard because of our town water coming across it. What would you say? Yes, sir.
I had a question, just for the council, and I've been arguing about this the whole time. You know, we voted to do this job. And it's on record. But, like they say, nothing has been taken care of, nothing has been done.
It's your backyard.
That's right, it's my backyard. So,
And there is 80 of that 140 that was set aside for the 2 ditches that are being taken care of for 60.
There is, after tonight, the bid was great at 23, so you got about 80 grand.
about how much?
About $80,000.
The one on Northwest was about 35, and this one's about 25, so it's 140 total. So it's 80.
You know, we ain't asking much. It's your water. So if we, Mr. Lawyer, if I go in there and fill that ditch up and block it, what happens? If I block the town's water coming from Main Street of Blackstone across my private property?
I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful, and I
Disrespectful that
Whoa, 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 whoa.
for 20 years, sir.
Wait, wait, wait.
one second. I don't want to be disrespectful, and I'm a big proponent that I believe the town directs water to these ditches, but I got a ditch going and eroding a good portion of my backyard, and it's actually coming out and falling down. So, you know, and I understand, but I mean, that was done by previous council, and I'm not saying that anything's null and void from it, but I think there's a lot of ditches we need to look at.
Does that mean that the council's word means absolutely nothing? The town of Blackstone council, when they vote on something, whether it's this one, the past one, their word means absolutely nothing, because that's what you just said. That one was this one. They voted on it and passed it. That means your word, a man's word is what it is. 2 years ago, they voted on it. But I still gotta pay taxes on this ditch. That this man just sat up here a few minutes ago and said, if they caused it, the town of Blackstone caused this issue, that the town of Blackstone's responsible. Because their water is coming across our property. They relocated the ditch. He said it would, if you relocate it. They added more drop inlets to channel more water to this area. Because everything through Garmin and Pool used to be open ditch. Now, everything in that area, and I commend the town of Blackstone on the work they've done in areas. But they put curb and gutter and everything, where before to go across the yard, it goes this way or that way. Now it goes to a curb and gutter, that goes to the ditch that runs through our backyard. Now, you talk about your ditch. Like I said, I could step over this ditch when I was 20 years ago, 25 years ago. It is 25 foot wide and 20 feet deep and 100 feet long, if not longer. It's probably 200 feet long, with trees growing out of it because you can't maintain it. Y'all are approving ditches all over. You done Northwest Avenue. You're doing one over here on Forest Drive.
We did do one on your property at one point though, right?
No.
Didn't we put a pipe in from the road going back?
No. I've been here. My dad's been here. My sister's been here.
Not that main ditch in the back, but wasn't there one going from the road back?
For we ain't put no ditch in.
No, he's talking about the drainage. The town did that.
The one that's buried. The one that's buried.
No, Larry Parrish done that. Larry Palmer done it. And that's how long we have been fighting this. Larry was the town manager. You were councilman. One of your big things was, we'll fix this ditch. When the past mayor was here, we'll fix your ditch. Well, he's gone. You back, and I ditch you still.
But I'm in a different role here now. You know.
No. I'm just saying. You left. You're back. He's served his whole term, and our ditch ain't fixed yet.
Well, you got a new council and you got a new mayor. I'm trying. I've spoken to members of council. I'm trying not to get into the votes and vote unless it's absolutely necessary. I've been on the job 15 months. I haven't vetoed a thing.
I understand.
You know what I'm saying? So
I'm just.
This is up to council, and I'm not, Mr. Manager. So you're making a request to go ahead and do the ditch. I'm trying to figure out.
Yes,
because my biggest problem is I understand what you're saying. I'm just trying to get it on the record.
It was approved by the previous council, and they did not get it done. It was approved. Y'all's word means everything. Because if I come to this lady right here and she gives me her word, then I'm gonna take it for it. My word is my bond. They said they were gonna fix this ditch, and that was 2 years ago. And they're all gone. Well, some of them are gone.
Well, everybody's getting tired, and I think everybody understands the points you've raised, and I appreciate it.
So do I go?
No, let me try to figure all this out for you, okay? Mr. Manager, could I have your attention? Where do we go forward with this? What do we?
Forward?
Yep.
I think that's a finance committee. I think we looked at it a dozen times. With the street committee, I think how many times we've been out there, at least 2 or 3, looking at it and going back and forth. And I don't have it in a just looking at it as a preliminary budget, and there's not street money there. I do believe Mr. Gorman is right. There's about $80,000 left in what you guys had originally, what we were able to cobble together for private ditches Northwest Avenue.
It was left over grant.
It left over.
It was part of that $500 and some thousand grant money.
It was reimbursement. I'll tell you very frankly, we got the money, we got reimbursed for an aeration project. We're proud of the fact that we were 100% reimbursed. We anticipated a loan. They gave us 100%, paid off your line of credit, and we set $140,000 aside out of grant reimbursement that was supposed to pay the town back, but we earmarked it for the 2 projects really, and there could be a third, but for Northwest Avenue and
How much of the ditch did we commit to do? Was it just how much of the ditch did we commit to do? Was it just a link to his property, or?
No, it was to the wood.
So it'll be.
I think the motion was very ambiguous.
My question is, the money was 2 years ago. What did y'all do with the money 2 years ago that the town said that they were going to do it when they voted on it?
So you're gonna have a 20-foot ditch.
I understand that,
Covered.
but ours was voted.
20-foot ditch again.
Ours was voted on 2 years ago, so y'all talk about money now. But it would, if they voted on it 2 years ago, and I know how I do business, I figured my money 2 years ago when all right, we're gonna do this ditch, the money was set aside. Y'all talking about money you ain't got now, but that was 2 years ago. I ain't worried about your money now. Y'all made a promise. Y'all said you're gonna fix it. And all y'all do is tell people, right there, that lady, Spring Hill Church, earlier today, you said they told the man everything's gonna be great. He walked out the door, and what'd you do? I don't know.
Don't quote me, sir, but I did say that.
I got you.
I did say that.
Cool.
That is true.
What is your word? What is y'all's word?
Our word's supposed to be our bond. And we did voted to do your ditches. We voted
I got
2
the paper.
ditches. Somerville, Mrs. Somerville, and your ditch. We did say we was gonna do that. We did.
Well, I tell you what I'm gonna do. The hour's late, and you've had
Yes, sir.
the luxury of having everyone here before I send it to finance. Okay, so that's a good thing for you.
Well, I was gonna ask you, I can come by and see you if you have any questions. Mr. Muller lives in the backyard, I deal with him all the time.
Well, this is my chairman of Street and Light, and, you know, and the chairman of Finance. But if you know, my door is always welcome for you. We've known each other for 30 years.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think going to account finance is the first step. I think Philip should seek bids, to be honest.
I think he should seek an engine, shouldn't he seek some
council,
drawings
find
and
out
engineering
what-
first?
Take it up. I'm listening for anyone.
I'd like to put a I'd like to put a motion on the floor that we let Philip go out and submit bids for this project.
We're gonna have to do a little engineering. And something to bid on. I can't just say, type in the ditch, we gotta make sure it's the perfect size and type of box and wing wall and all that sort of thing. I think the first thing to do is get some rudimentary drawings of what it is that we wanna accomplish. How far do we go back? Do we go back to the wood line? I think that was my understanding.
Yes.
That, when it was first presented back to the wood, about 100 feet or thereabouts.
It's probably longer than that. But I have one thing. You making a motion. That motion don't mean nothing. Because we already got a motion to get it fixed 2 years ago.
But
You making a,
forgive me, there needs to be a motion to seek bids, and then there needs to be a motion to accept.
I understand it, but you see where I was saying.
I understand you're frustrated, but I mean, Mr. Nash is, I'd be surprised if he votes for this ditch, it's on private property.
Neither one of them. I
But-
understand that.
But I will tell you this, sir,
I honor that.
sir,
Yes, sir.
he did ask for council to act tonight. I felt it was my place to assign it to the committee, but that is their prerogative. So, Mr. Miller has moved to seek bids to pipe in the property on the Arms Ditch on, what, Center Street?
Dillard.
So we're clear, going back to the tree line.
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody, the camera's on, we'll take it to the tree, not the railroad tracks, and I don't know, and take the tree line.
No,
We
the
said-
tree line.
We'll go to the tree line.
I need you to provide the drawings, gentlemen. I need you to provide the drawings so we don't have another Somerville, and we'll vote on your drawings, okay? Because I don't want you back up here saying we did this, we did that. I want drawings in front of us and a bid, and we move forward.
When you say the tree line, are you saying the length of the ditch of his property line?
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
It's grassy approximately for the majority of their yard, and I can't tell you exactly where your property line is.
It should be right at the tree line.
Where the ditch actually passes into the woods.
Right.
We're talking about terminating our improvements at the wood line.
All right. Bring us a
Yeah.
drawing. That's what got us in trouble with Somerville.
Philip, you got my number. I'm available.
He's agreeable to it. Let's get a drawing, but the motion is made by Mr. Miller and seconded by Mr. Gormas to allow you to seek bids on piping in the Arms Ditch on Dillard Street. I ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Gormas.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-2, okay?
Thank you.
Now I can, now,
I honor you.
Mr. Arms,
Yes, sir.
now I can be of some service to you.
Yes.
You have a motion, and I will see to it that the motion's carried out.
I thank y'all for your time. Philip has my number. I see Mr. Gormas at the restaurant, and Mr. Muller, you're in the backyard. So
That is
thank you.
a motion for bids, just so you know. Okay.
That's right.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to come, anybody else like to come to the podium? Members of council, you have in your informational portion of the packet included, is there any questions? Hearing none, we have a closed session tonight, with 3 segments. One of them is the street department, number 2 is administration, and 3 is council. I'm
Excuse
gonna
me.
delay that discussion with council until the 1st. And I think you need to get this done with the street department tonight.
That's the only thing that's pressing.
Okay, all right. So at this time, we're in recess for 2 minutes, and we'll come back and you'll
You want to
provide.
take the administration part off? That's no problem too.
Yeah, I'm not in a hurry for that, so, well, let's just get the ditch going, and we'll talk.
Are we adding consultation with legal counsel?
Yes, yeah, we need that because he's here, okay? Yeah, we're gonna take a 2-minute recess, and y'all can get your motions straight. We're at ease.